Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Pigpen, episode 35, obligatory post-midterm stream 2022, the year of our Lord. I think the title is pretty self-explanatory this evening. We have on a new guest, Jay Maximus, as well as returning guests, LSP and Beppis. How's everybody doing this evening?
Doing well.
Anyway,
How are you doing, Politicrat? How are you doing this evening?
I am doing very well, Beppis. It's been a while. How have you been lately?
I've been doing.
You've been just doing?
Yeah, I've been doing.
Want to explain what the latest update in your life is?
No.
No? Okay. All right. LSP, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
All right, that's good to know. I guess we're gonna. This is just gonna be a post-election post-election analysis and analysis.
Yeah, I was gonna say after deep throating your mic, can you say analysis, please?
Analysis.
There we go, honey.
Analysis. No. So, we're gonna be doing that this evening. But first, as always, we'll go around, see how everyone's doing. Just introduce yourself. You know the drill. Well, except for Maximus, he is the returning guest, or not returning guest. He's the new guest. How are you doing, Maximus? You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm J Maximus Coriolanus on Twitter, and basically I shitpost and do a little bit of philosophy and writing on technology and speculative fiction.
Nice. What kind of speculative fiction? Like, what's your genre area?
It varies depending on what I'm going for.
I guess in like sci-fi, because you mentioned technology.
Yeah, some of it is sci-fi. A lot of it focusing on more of the social implications of technology.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Glad to have you on, Maximus. Thank you. LSP, want to go ahead and introduce yourself to who doesn't? Everyone who isn't aware of who you are.
I'm LSP. There's really nothing to add. I just make videos and stuff.
Okay. Make videos. And Beppis.
Oh gosh, I said I was so preparing not to say and be the only one that could speak properly. Shit. I go by Hard Cider on all my socials. I make art and occasionally write articles.
Oh, welcome. So anyway, we're gonna start by just talking about how we feel like the election went last night, specifically, or yesterday in general. I feel like it was kind of strange because it went in such a way that nobody really. I mean, I know a lot of people knew that it would go the way that it did, but it didn't exactly go as predicted, because at first people were saying red wave, then people were like, oh, blue might do a little better. Blue might be a blue wave, which I never believed for a minute. But then later on, I guess people were talking about all the October surprises that were going to come or whatever. And then it seemed like for a while the Republicans had a chance of doing better. And I was expecting a red wave, 100%. But then it turned into like an almost split down the middle. I mean, it's not even clear if the Republicans have fully taken the House yet, and they have even less of a chance of taking the Senate.
It's way contested.
It is way.
To quote Ben Shapiro, went from red wave to red wedding.
No, that is. I actually really like the way he put that.
Yeah, Republicans shouldn't be struggling like this. They've had. We've got record high inflation. We've got an off year election. Primary turnout is low, and districts have been gerrymandered in their favor. So I'm just going to make a bold prediction here. This doesn't really have to do with Biden. This is a rejection of Trumpism again.
Another referendum against it. Yeah. I mean, you did have J.D. Vance in Ohio, but I mean, really,
the singular person, and also a very red as fuck state.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, Ohio's a swing state, but it's been red for the past
Ohio's
4
a swing
elections.
State like Florida's a swing state.
Yeah, Ohio's been definitely trending red.
Plus, Ohio's more of like the working class social conservative populist kind of red. So, which is perfect for someone like J.D. Vance, who is sort of like the kind who's bucking against the, I guess, libertarian economic consensus that the GOP has had since like the 80s.
That, and also Vance does does a better job of triangulating between the Trumpian populist front and also being very presentable.
Yes,
because
exactly. He's kind of like how before DeSantis turned anti-Trump, he's kind of like how DeSantis was before that, and a little bit like Glenn Youngkin, but more of a populist than Glenn Youngkin.
Do you think that works in his favor in this environment?
I don't know enough about JD Vance. I mean, I read his book, and so I'm not like a huge fan necessarily of him.
Well,
really
he
don't
enjoys
have-
some prominence in the Republican Party. And
Yes, and I think he does have a future in Republican politics. But I will say, I will recommend his book, The Hillbilly Elegy. It was actually a pretty good and insightful book.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. That was making waves in my circles back in the old days in like 2014 or whenever it came
No,
out.
2017.
Wait, was it
More
all the way?
recent than that.
Oh, it was more recent.
Hillbilly Elegy was 2017.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
I would. It's not a political book though at
Yeah.
all. But
No.
so I think I was kind of like expecting him to run more of a libertarian kind of. I guess.
Well, the populist right
platform,
isn't
but-
libertarian anymore. Like they're Trumpists. Like they're
Oh,
pretty
exactly.
much libertarian as fuck.
I mean, even Rand Paul is kind of abandoning his libertarian. I mean, he was never as libertarian as his father, but like I don't know, Rand Paul's very disappointing. I guess as a politician. Pepis, I know you're Pepis. You're a libertarian. What's your opinion on Rand Paul? Because he just I think he won.
Yeah,
Wait,
he
was
was.
he up
He was. It was 50. It was 55 to 45 or whatever
Well,
it
I'm
was
not
against
surprised.
the.
I'm not surprised. I mean, Rand Paul is clearly, in my opinion, the best Republican senator, but still,
Brett Massey's pretty good.
that's not a very high bar.
Mitt
Brett
Romney.
Massey's pretty good.
Oh, Mitt Romney. Holy shit.
Really?
Hell
Mitt Romney's
yeah.
mid-tier.
Mitt Romney is a principled conservative. The only first, he's a conservative leader who will stand by his conservative principles even when it's unpopular in his party. Secondly, he's got the balls to impeach his own party members in an election.
I mean, I can theoretically respect that. I just think he's kind of
Yeah, for a uniparty guy, he definitely is a uniparty guy.
he's like the Republican Joe Manchin. That's the best way to put him.
Yeah, that's the strange thing about politics. The greatest concentrations of power are in these coffin corners of either you're so extreme you're essentially whipping your own party to go in your direction, and so you have to be appeased, or you're the complete centrist who is like Joe Manchin, where you just
Or
have an
Mitt
enormous
Romney.
amount of veto power.
Mm-hmm.
Say, yeah, you have people like. I mean, in some ways, Manchin, with the exception of maybe the abortion issue, is in some ways even more to the right than Rom. Actually, no, I don't know. What am I saying? They're about the same place. The only difference between them is the abortion issue, fundamentally.
I would submit that's a pretty big deal.
Well, that's really the only thing that is separating the primary party consensus. Like, they agree on pretty much everything else except for like some welfare stuff, and even that's changing a bit with the Trump, who has slightly, and I say slightly, quote unquote, more left-wing economic beliefs than
I'm not sure
old school Republicans.
tariffs and tax cuts, like really rich tax cuts, are left-wing economic beliefs.
Tariffs are definitely left-wing economic. At least traditionally speaking, because remember the Republicans used to be the free trade party, and then
And
you
they're
had the
not anymore.
Democrats.
Like they're not anymore. You can't call it left-wing. Like this is the new Republican Party. They don't like free trade.
No, but neither does Bernie Sanders and the progressive left.
But Barack Obama and you narrowed it down to the progressive left. Joe
That's what
Manchin,
I said left
absolutely.
wing.
Joe Manchin, absolutely. Well, liberal is what we're looking for.
Okay, fair. Like Obama. When I hear like American liberals, like I mean, just in general, in terms of comparing it to the rest of world politics, are compared to the rest of world politics, they're centrists. Like Biden is like a hard centrist, even in compared to even some countries, center right. But
Well, here they're left wing, and I think that's the only prominent party either. Like the only prominent left wing party is liberals.
And then if you think about it, if you look at the UK, like I guess a good example, a comparison would be the UK, where the Conservative Party is on policy basically where the Democrats are here in the US. They are the Democrats of the UK. Like at least ever since Corbyn took the took Labour to the left of the Blairites.
What I find
I'm sorry, Maximus. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say that it's interesting to see how in different regions there appear to be very different forces for why each party did or did not fail. Like, for example, in Pennsylvania, I think it's really just down to like Oz being a weak candidate for Trump to pick, and they have a genuinely it's genuinely corrupt down there or up there. And to a certain degree, we also just live in a post-economic age for political voting at this point because
Especially the Republicans.
Hmm?
I said especially the Republicans.
oh yeah, especially the Republicans, but also the left as well.
The only people who vote on economic issues at this point, I'd say, are the populist left.
Yeah, the populist left and some hanger-on boomer cons that still exist.
Even libertarians like aren't so much like like it's implicit if you're a libertarian, you're a pro free market, pro all that stuff. But it's not really like even a core issue anymore. It's just like libertarianism for the sake of libertarianism.
And that's what we saw in Arizona. 38,000 people went to vote for the libertarian candidate that endorsed Lake Masters.
That is funny. I mean, to be fair, I mean Blake Masters, I was kind of rooting for him. I wasn't like particularly a fan, but he's read all the people that I read, so I can respect him for that.
Yeah, Masters is interesting, and Teal's a whole deep conversation because, you know, I have some people that I know that have talked to him, and so he's not a typical like a typical person who would fall into like a very fake religiosity. Like, he has some sort of religious belief that appears to be genuinely supernaturalist, and it's also influenced by Girardian mimetic theory.
I think he's also a Freemason, which I can respect.
At the same time, he's an unrepentant, he's an unrepentant homosexual. So it's like,
Is he gay? Really?
Yeah.
Unrepentantly, apparently.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought he had a wife.
No, he has a husband, and he's part of the Log Cabin Republicans.
I'm not aware of that. Okay, this is new to me.
Yeah, it's
that
not like
it interesting.
Yeah, so it's like, on the one hand, not good. I hope there's some genuine, authentic belief there. I don't really doubt there's something real there. Whether or not it's really true conversion.
I mean, you have gay conservatives.
Yeah, well.
But they're awful people.
Yeah,
How are they awful people?
Yeah, how are they awful people?
They're undying support for a party that is antithetical to their very humanity.
How is it antithetical to
not
their
so much
humanity?
like millennial and Gen Z conservatives, though, like especially on college campuses and stuff. And even people like Charlie Kirk are overwhelmingly pro-LGBT, or at least they don't give a shit, or at least they have a libertarian perspective on it.
But in the people like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and arguably Tucker Carlson don't like. We just went through.
Okay, I'm going to defend Tucker here for a second. Tucker Carlson was pro-gay marriage before most other Republicans were.
We just went through a straight month of this Republican hysteria. I mean, we have a bill in Florida that where like the Don't Say Gay bill.
Oh, Don't Say Gay. Okay, the Don't Say Gay bill's bullshit. It's not what they are branding it as. Like, okay, I am pro.
What does it do then? What does it do?
No, so all it does is it bans them from being able to talk about sexuality from kindergarten, I believe, to the fifth
grade.
Yeah, so literally, like, no gay people can't. That's what that means.
Well, also no straight sex either.
Yeah, it's a don't say straight
gay people. Like, we're not banned. Like, you think that bill's just banning talking about sex?
Yeah,
that is essentially fundamentally what it is.
No, the very sponsor of the bill outright said this is designed to stop lessons such as Sally has two moms. Like, this was a bill about stopping people from talking about gay people.
I mean, it's not talking about gay people. It's talking about gay sex specifically. And honestly, 6-year-olds should not be learning about sexuality at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like 9 at the lowest.
No prepubescent children should be learning about sex.
No, I said at the lowest. Like,
no,
for instance,
not even then.
Okay, for instance, like when
that's
I was
capitulating.
10, when I was 10. Like, the way I learned about, like, I didn't even, like, learn it in school. My parents were just like, okay, here is this book called, like, What Is Happening to Me? And it was a kid's book from, like, the 50s or 60s. And it was just, like, it was about anatomy, and it was about, like, what happened, but it wasn't graphic. Like, that's how I learned about sex back in the day, and it was like easing into it. Like, it's like knowing what a penis is, knowing what a vagina is. Third through.
I just know you're factually wrong, but give me a second to finish this game so I can like fish it out for you. You guys can continue the conversation if you want, but I need to go actually fish out the source for you.
So wait, don't say gay bill.
Yeah.
Okay, send that to me, and then I will end up like putting it on the screen. So either way, Kilhoon, you have arrived. How are you doing this evening?
Doing fine. Besides, you guys still think that elections matter and that people care about economics these days, which literally that's a boomer take.
I mean, if you don't, well, I mean, I care about economics, but I'm the only one. I am the last. But then again, that is. I mean, economics is my educational background. So. I did study at one of the top econ departments in the country. So I'm gonna brag for a second.
I don't define my intellectual knowledge based upon my studies. But I mean, what was actually on the ballot this election, which I don't believe in
election was on the ballot.
Yes, apparently democracy. Because democracy is always under threat when democracy is practiced. So let's ask Plato his opinions on it.
Well, somehow I don't think LSP somewhat agrees with that, because LSP is like, at least this is what you said. Remember about 2 years ago, LSP, you came on the that one democracy stream. We're talking about voter suppression, voter fraud.
Yeah, there was a guy who said democracy can't survive because of diversity. I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
No, that was the one before that.
Oh, fuck, I don't remember the other one then.
No. Okay, no, the other one was the one. It was Coronis, and then Kevin Castley was trolling it.
I barely remember what the fuck that shit was about.
This was March of 21. Either way, so you mentioned that you were like so pro democracy, where even if an anti-democratic party took control, you would support the principle of that.
That I would support an anti-democratic party.
No, not party, but you would support the system. Even if there was, like, you said, even if not a Nazi party were elected, if it was the will of the people, you would support that.
Yeah, so must be the will of the people. That's key there. The people must represent anti-democratic values. Now, I'm not convinced that the Republicans, like when they have power and they try to like talk down democracy. I don't know, downplay. What's the word I'm looking for? I very, very much doubt that it sincerely reflects the will of the people. I think they're playing politics.
I actually think the Republicans, they love democracy so much that they think the election was stolen. Like, that's my weird take. I think everybody is just so obsessed with democracy, even the Republicans. And it's to an unhealthy degree on both sides.
Well, that's because the Republicans buy into the boomer truth regime, and the boomer truth regime says that elections are the best way of selecting leaders, which I don't get where that came from.
So, I mean, we're not going to be doing a democracy debate. We're just really going to be covering the thing. But we're going to be having Net7 come on tonight, who is in Arizona. So he's been following. He was a big supporter of Blake Masters. So I think LSP and Net7 will have a little bit of fun. But it's not blood sports tonight. We're not doing blood sports, as much as I know people love it. But either way. So, what, if you don't mind saying what state you were in, what was your satisfaction rate of the results?
Who, me?
Just everyone here. Satisfaction rate of the results for your state specifically. Because for me, I mean, the person I voted for. I'm sorry?
Fucking 0%.
0%.
I live in a Republican country.
You live in Florida?
No, Texas.
Oh, Texas. Okay, I'm guessing you voted for Greg Abbott.
Yeah, totally.
What?
Yeah, totally.
No, but still, I'm not a huge fan of Beto. Like, I supported him over Ted Cruz for Senate in 2018 just for the sake,
really?
because I just wanted to see. No, it wasn't. So it's like that clip from. Okay, hold on. Hold on a second.
JR. Oh,
This is
man.
this is exactly what. Hold on. Give me a minute.
Dude, ranked up from silver 1 to gold 4. Fuck yeah.
This was me in 2018.
I thought you were just gonna post like a soy jack image or something. I was gonna be like,
Hold on.
dang, I guess you were a Beto supporter.
I wasn't a Beto supporter.
Ugh.
Just hold on a second.
Ahead. Wait. Oh, they'll know. Why are you helping us? I don't care if you win. I need Kylo Ren to lose.
That was me.
You're so cringe.
No,
Fucking
that was.
showing Star Wars like this is my.
No,
political
and the thing
It's
is,
like,
I
gosh,
don't feel like happy that I had to show that clip, but
Like, what's the
because
one
that was the
meme?
worst Star Wars movie.
What's the one meme? It's like world event happens. Like, gosh, I sure hope I can analyze this through the same lens I watch cartoons with.
No, specifically anime.
Oh god. Literally every political commenter. Well, I'm going to do this through the lens of
There was
insert
this one
random.
Marvel movie we're in. I'm like, I'm wrapped in, I'm strapped in.
It's
Tell
like
me.
I am going to analyze politics through the lens of Thor: Love and Thunder.
I thought Thor: Love and Thunder was okay.
It wasn't that bad.
No, it was
wasn't that
it was a decent popcorn. I didn't turn my
Yeah.
brain on for that one, but it
I
was
mean,
pretty on the screen,
I
and Jeff
can't-
Goldblum was fun.
No,
I don't
no,
watch
no,
any
that
Marvel
was
movies these
Ragnarok.
days.
No,
Jeff
they're all
Goldblum
shit.
was Ragnarok.
Wait, no, not Love and Thunder. Am I thinking of Ragnarok?
You're thinking of
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
I didn't watch that one. So you got all shitty at that.
No,
point.
Love and Thunder was the one where Christian Bale was the villain, and he was
I
actually
don't know
a pretty good
who's Christian Bale.
villain. Shut the fuck up.
No, I sent you that meme earlier about how like someone mentions a famous person, be like, I don't know who that is. I don't
Oh, no,
care about those things.
No, Christian.
I don't
Bale,
spend my time that way.
Christian Bale was American Psycho
Oh, okay. Why didn't you just say Patrick Bateman?
because that's not the same. Well, whatever. Okay. Patrick Batman.
Like, they're
Patrick
different
Batman.
people.
Anyway. So. Hold on, we have Killhoon. Oh, Net7. How are you doing? I just noticed you popped in.
I'm doing good, man. What's up?
Yeah, doing well. I'm glad to have you on because I know you are from Arizona, and I want to hear you weigh in specifically on the Blake Masters and Kerry Lake specifically. I don't know if you voted for them or not, but I just want to hear your takes.
Yeah, sure. So I guess describing the two candidates, I was like, can we come up with someone better? Like, I voted in the primary for Taylor Robinson because I was like, I don't want Kerry Lake because she's one of those election deniers, and like I'm just like, oh gosh, this is gonna really hurt. Like just the Republican Party and GOP in general to get these like wackos. In terms of like saying, oh, we lost election because it was stolen. It's like, and yet you had like no proof of it, and it's like, so it was just bad for the image. But, the reality is that in the general election, I kind of had to just like close my nose and mark Kerry Lake because it's like, well, it's either her or Katie Hobbs. And I hate Katie Hobbs, just as much as I more than I dislike Kerry Lake.
But I know you were a Masters fan. You mentioned that you actually liked Blake Masters.
Well, I didn't say, I don't know if I said I liked him completely because some of his views are like, he represents a trend in the Republican Party that I don't like seeing and that I've been trying to fight back against, is that he represents one of the more like paleo libertarians who have tried to essentially, in order to win an election, have essentially registered as Republican. Mm-hmm. And so his foreign policy views, I just found stupid. Like I'm shaking my head when I hear him talk about foreign policy. The reality, the thing is this though, is that I had to ask myself, look, at the end of the day, because I didn't vote for him in the primary, I voted like the General McGuire guy and beat like Mick McGuire, because to me, Mick McGuire was like as a neoconservative, I'm big on voting for veterans, like Republican veterans,
I voted for the Republican because this is I think the first time. No, I think this is the first time I actually voted Republican for the House of Representatives. Oh no, this might be the second time. I might have voted for one in 2014, but either way, yeah, this is the first time I voted Republican, at least from my knowledge, for the House of Representatives. And the guy I voted for was a veteran, and so that's actually one of the reasons it came down to that. Like,
hey, homie.
Because the caucus that I just started with my group actually endorsed like a couple veterans who were running for re-election. But I just when it came down to Blake versus Mark Kelly, I mean, I like Mark Kelly's a veteran, and I respect the heck out of him for that. But like, I had to then take into account, like, okay, has my life gotten harder or better under the current leadership? And I had to say, the fact that Mark Kelly like has voted a consistent amount of time with Joe Biden, I just had to say, look, I mean, during the debate he tried to paint himself as more independent minded, but I just said, you're not really, no, because if you were, you would have said something about Afghanistan, and he was silent on that. And so I just said, look, I as a Republican, I can in my party challenge people who have really bad foreign policy views, and in the next election we can run a primary against those people and get them out and get someone who's more hawkish, like General Mick McGuire. But if we lose to the serious Democrats, if we lose big time, then nothing's going to change. It's only going to get worse. So I kind of had to like do the same thing. I had to like close my nose, mark the ballot, and be like, this was not my first choice.
what is the veteran here have to say about that? In terms of voting for veterans specifically, I'm not talking about, this isn't a foreign policy debate, but I want to ask Kilhoun what his thoughts on that specifically, voting for veterans specifically.
I don't blanket carte blanche agree with voting for veterans, even though I am a veteran myself, because, well, for one, in my district of Montana, we had the neocon Ryan Zinke running, pretty hawkish. Let's just say I did not like him. There was actually a colonel running against him too, so both of them veterans in the primaries. And I mean, I don't really put stock in democracy for actually selecting any good candidates, so I'm not surprised that Ryan Zinke was given the nomination. I voted for him only because, well, the other option was a woman, and I'm not voting for a woman.
Oh, God. LSP, what's your response to what do you think of voting for women, LSP?
Why do you ask him and not the only woman either? What's your fucking...
Because your opinion doesn't matter. No, I'm kidding. No. Okay, fine. Woman can go first. Woman can go first.
No, I don't have an opinion.
My opinion is I love bitches.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a woman or it was a neocon. I guess I voted for the neocon. And then I wrote
voting for the person who aligns with your values.
Yeah, well, none of them align with my values because
if there was a woman that did.
No, the woman did not. She was just reading a billboard, essentially, given a script. So I could tell by the way that she stuttered through every single ad that she did.
So she was a bad choice.
Well, no, she was just a typical choice. So
yeah, which is
like
a bad
she has
choice.
A speech impediment.
Yeah, which is a bad choice, a typical choice.
Well, that's typical for American democracy. Is you get awful choices.
Yes.
So my president's got a speech impediment, and I think he's doing great.
Wait,
I mean, I know Montana has open primaries, Kilhoun, but are you registered as any particular party? I forget if you said, because I know you hate the Republicans, but you just don't talk about the Democrats.
I hate both parties. The only reason why I voted in the Republican primary in my state is because my father literally was like, "Can you vote for these people?" And I was like, "Fine."
So it's like, yeah, you're like, it's not going to do anything, but I'll do it for you. Yeah.
Literally just because my old man asked me to.
The funny thing, oh, did you hear about the, speaking of which, I know this is kind of going a little off topic with regards to actually analyzing the way that the election went. but hold on a second. Wish I had. This is just something that came to mind, but do we have the clip? Okay, I have one right here. But you guys are aware of the middle-aged white woman show, The View, right?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Can you describe it to me, Jr.?
yeah, I can. Of course, I can describe it to you. It is a
Okay,
show.
like, but in a sentence, a sentence and a half.
A midday show for wine moms.
Can you do it, but like funnier?
No. Okay. So we are going to show you a clip from this. Just get this. This is actually kind of funny.
Bless you. It's my son,
Those aren't even white women.
who, by the way, wanted to make sure that his absentee ballot was that I did that, and I had trouble actually voting for him absentee ballot today, and that made me very concerned. It's the first time I was told to put it in an orange bag on the floor, and the orange bag looked to me like a Target bag or something. And I said, isn't there a formal election box that says absentee ballots or something like that? And then she said, let me check, and then found it.
Wow.
So that concerned me.
Did Sunny Hostin just confess to election fraud?
Well, look, that's what a lot
Okay,
of
what do you think about
conservatives are saying
that?
online.
I
Dinesh
love her.
D'Souza.
Is she running for everything? She's my choice for all things. Give her the Newt coats. My God, what
sorry.
a woman!
My internet dropped there for like a second, but I'm back.
So we watched a clip from The View, and okay, I'm not going to say whether she did or not, but it did
wealthy
sound a lot that she
celebrity.
said. She basically admitted for voting for her son.
Yeah, she just admitted to voter fraud on fucking television. I love her. Oh my God, what's her name?
I don't know, but that's
find her name for me. I gotta stalk her or something.
no, but that is what you call
Oh my God.
that is what you call celebrity privilege right there. That they can say whatever.
Admitting to felonies.
Even Trump.
Exo
No, no,
facto on television.
Trump is a perfect example of this too. I mean, what would you say about that, LSP?
No
She
comment.
did tacitly admit to election fraud.
Who tacitly admitted to election fraud? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh,
There
did,
was-
did
there
you
was a
not,
clip we
did you
just
not just watch the video that we showed?
I'm overwatching.
Oh, you're overwatching. Okay. No, but it was a lady from The View basically saying that she voted for her son with a absentee ballot.
Okay.
I mean, that is kind of voter fraud.
Yes.
I mean, admitting to who you voted for, I don't get how that's a crime.
No, she forged a ballot in her son's name and then submitted it as him.
Oh,
And-
she forged it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
so
filled out the
that's where the
ballot
fraud
and then
comes in.
his name was on it, which is an official document. It's a felony to do that.
Yeah, and her name,
Yeah.
and she claimed her son asked her to do it, which is still illegal.
Yes.
Like, couldn't he have done that? Like, the whole point
Submitting
of
that
absentee.
ballot is a form of perjury for her.
Yeah. That is very
Well,
true.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so there is such a thing as voter fraud. So when people say, "Oh, well, it's not, it doesn't happen," it does happen. Now, I'm not going to go like the MAGA type and say, "Oh, like, oh, it's
Can we
everywhere,
say
it
how
happens all the time." But
often
no,
it
it
happens
does.
then?
Happen.
Like it is infinitesimally small incidents of voter fraud that happen every election.
It happens enough, and it's and especially in Florida too. We saw with DeSantis. I mean, what's going on with some people there who literally have felonies that are like we're talking like not just like
People who were told
like
by the state
had
they were
they had
allowed to
like a
vote?
drug like marijuana or something, like people who actually are convicted of murder and yet still got voter registration cards, which is ridiculous.
Because they were told they were allowed to get voter registration cards by the state.
Okay, so you should know, frankly, that if you have a violent felony on your record, you cannot.
They don't
It
know
depends
that.
on the
Not be registered.
They don't.
expungement and what
That's
state
why
you
they.
live
That's
in.
why they asked what the process was, and that's why they were given. Like they were given.
And that's what
cards
they're.
by the
And
state.
the thing is, they're saying that, but you don't know that. That you're saying you're essentially taking their word for it, and that's.
I
the
don't
problem.
think the state's going to be able to prove any sort of voter fraud beyond a reasonable doubt here.
Oh, sure it will.
Okay.
Are you sure they weren't able to in 2020?
Because I'm pretty sure, like even one of the cases already got dismissed.
Trust me. Okay, look, prosecutors will not bring a case forward unless they are like pretty much like, yes, we're probably going to get a
Prosecutors didn't bring these
conviction here.
cases. Santis's
Okay,
office.
or criminal. Oh, please. Okay. So what you're saying essentially is what, like, that this is simply just an entity of the governor himself to punish or try to suppress the votes. Ridiculous.
Okay. Like, you're just putting words in my mouth.
Speaking of which,
you're the one who literally is taking a former murderer's, taking a murderer's, word for it and saying, "Oh, well, they told me I could vote." Yeah, just like he said, I didn't. Just like he probably said at trial, "Oh, I didn't do it."
Okay, I'm sorry for whatever frontal lobe injury you suffered. Because holy fucking shit.
Okay, we don't need
to
do blood sports tonight. We don't need to do blood sports tonight. We're just
I didn't make the frontal lobe comment. He did. So
be fucking less retarded.
Okay. Hey, let's get off this topic. Let's get off this retarded topic.
We are getting off this topic, both of you.
So in Montana,
I like both
in
of you
Montana's
guys,
second district.
I need to raise my voice, but I need to raise my voice sometimes. So okay, Kilhoon. I want to see your analysis. What's your analysis of the Montana?
So I just wanted to say this about Montana's second district, which, by the way, this is the first election where Montana has 2 votes in Congress, because we stole one off of California in this election because they went down in population. We went up just barely enough. So now we have a second district. But literally, this is Montana's voting trend. An independent guy, not even running under the Libertarians, got more votes than the Democrat in the second district of Montana. The Republicans still won, but I'm just saying that's Montana for you.
So Net 7's got to be pleased that a neocon won your district. So.
And well, actually, it's still uncalled because only 86%, and Zinke has 50 even, like pretty close to 50 even. So they're not calling it yet.
Oh, okay.
He's so Ryan Zinke's so unpopular here, just because he's a neocon, that a lot of the Republicans just abstain from even voting in that portion of the ballot. So, yeah, that's what's happening here in Montana.
So do you prefer neocons or libertarians?
I would honestly, if I had to pick between the 2 evils, I would pick the lesser evil, which is libertarianism.
But just mostly for foreign policy, I'm guessing?
Yeah, because otherwise libertarians are pretty degenerate on social issues.
I mean, you have some like...
Very few.
The Blake Masters paleo-libertarian, like I'd expect. But then again, he's also gay, and I know you don't have a positive view on homosexuality.
Yeah, I would not vote for any homosexual because then I'd be endorsing his lifestyle.
Okay. Anyway,
okay,
so
this is why whenever Darth Calhoun says, "Oh, they're a neocon," I take it with a grain of salt because everyone he doesn't like is a neocon.
I do admit.
No, Ryan Zinke is explicitly a neocon, so I'm not overusing that term.
I think usually. So either way, Beppis. So
Yes.
we're gonna go Beppis and then James Maximus. Beppis, how did Michigan go? Were you satisfied? Give your analysis on Michigan specifically.
I'm satisfied at a federal level, but I'm slightly disappointed at the local level.
Okay, explain the local level because we haven't talked about that much. I mean, I know when we say midterms, we are usually referring to national level, but I mean, it still is a part of the midterms local level, even though it's
I'm disappointed in the Dan and Nassau specifically, but I'm hoping that the Dearborn Caliphate's fatwa on her is successful. Suffice to say.
Kilhoun, do you remember? Oh God. Kilhoun, do you mind if I remove you for a few minutes just so we can have Ken in here?
Why don't you just jump them both in and then just mute somebody who's not talking?
Wait, no, you're also my co-host. I'll remove Beppis. Actually, no, I won't.
Don't remove anybody. Just sub them in. Just put them in, and then just mute an extra person, so there's not too many people talking over each other.
That's actually a few points.
Like, you don't have to remove anybody.
So yeah, talk in public chat, or private chat. I mean, if you have something to say, and I will be able to sub that. Anyway, Beppis, continue explaining your point for.
Oh, I was concerned about the changes in the fundamental way, like I think it's Proposal 2. The fundamental way elections will be run from here on out is concerning to me in Michigan.
And how is that? How are elections going to be changed? Do you think, fundamentally speaking?
Let me bring up the proposal specifically, but from what I remember, it definitely fortifies the state. If you catch my drift,
As in a potential future.
per the New York Times article, circa 2020.
You guys are becoming a blue state, or at least.
No, we're fundamentally a blue state, and like there's certain areas that are plus 82.
Okay, because I know like Grand Rapids is like the only largish town that is consistently red.
No, that's not true. It's been consistently.
I mean, not the
blue
only, but like one of the major ones.
No, it's consistently blue for the past few years.
Not in
The
not
whole
up to
county is.
2020. I mean, 2020, like ever since like 2010 or 2012, they had a Republican representative. But to be fair, he was more of a libertarian anyway. Justin Amash.
Republicans usually do well for the state house and Senate. I was more so concerned about the
locals. Okay, I know what you mean.
The state district attorney. I'm not really surprised Whitmer won. I think the
Whitmer's corrupt though. I mean,
she's terrible. She's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
What was sad is that Tudor Dixon, I liked her in a lot of respects, but she went. I don't think in Michigan someone that's that anti-abortion is gonna, unless they have really good PR, is gonna fly. And I think Tudor Dixon's PR and just general like discussions with the public were good on a personal level, but she was not very internet savvy in the way she needed to be able to push an incumbent governor.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to turn this into an abortion debate, but if both parties just moderated a tiny bit more.
Well, Michigan's now up till like 9 months. Okay. So there you go.
I was just saying, is Michigan up to 9 months?
Yeah, it's extremely vague now, but like Proposal 3 basically legalizes everything and makes it very vague.
Like, okay, if it is up to 9 months at that point, okay, like, I'm sorry.
Tudor Dixon was specifically no exceptions for rape or incest.
Yeah, and that is a very rare position within the Republican
and don't get me wrong,
too.
I understand the conservative argument implicitly on it, and am sympathetic in a few respects, but that's not going to fly for even middle of the line.
Okay.
You know, there's pragmatic positions that you can appeal to the general populace on, and still make conservatives somewhat not as pissy.
So, Cookies, you did bring up a good point, or Beppis, whatever. I keep using your old name, but Beppis. So, I do think okay, I'm sorry. I just realized I have 3 boxes of Raisin Bran.
What are you going to do with them?
I don't know.
Are you going to eat them?
Probably at some point. Maybe
just
in a
eat
year.
all 3 at the same fucking time.
No.
Get some cream cheese with it too.
Just kidding.
I don't know.
Ooh, what cream cheese? You mix cream cheese in with your milk? Like, I'm gonna have a bowl of cereal and you.
I might try that actually.
That sounds terrible.
Wait, I thought you said raisin. I thought you said raisin bread. Oh, it's raisin bread.
No, raisin bran.
Raisin
cereal,
bran.
dog.
That's a very strongly Midwestern pronunciation of milk. I haven't heard that for a while.
Don't leave me alone.
Okay.
I thought it was raisin bread. That was my honest mistake.
You just zonked out.
So Beppis. So mention in private chat. You actually brought up that is a really smart idea. Minimizing each person whenever they have something to say.
Yeah.
So post in private chat if you have any response to anything Alkazai is saying, and I'll be sure to tap you in.
Okay.
Ken or Alkazai, whatever. How are you doing this evening?
Hello. How are we today?
How are you doing?
I'm good. Just had some dinner.
That's
nice.
We're
feeling great. Food in my tummy.
This is everybody who doesn't know him. This is Alkazai. He is my former co-host.
Yeah. Whoops. Got a little busy there.
Anyway, do you want to go explain what are your thoughts, just instant thoughts on the recent election?
They're funny. They're funny. They're very funny. I find it funny that Ron DeSantis got almost 60% of the vote in Florida, but somehow The red wave was entirely localized within Florida and New York for some reason. What's his face? The DCCC chairman. What's his name? I forget it. I think his name's Patrick. Maloney. Yeah, Patrick Maloney. He is the leader, the campaign chair for the House Democrats, and he lost his own seat somehow. He carpetbagged to what was supposed to be a blue district. It was like a Biden plus 10 district, and lost. And yay, and he didn't need to do that. And Lee Zeldin pulled some Republicans over the line by coattail riding, so that was funny. Lauren Boebert is losing her race in Colorado, also hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Boebert's already lost.
After the AOC stunt she pulled at the border, crying over the random stunt 5-year-old, I think.
Yeah. But I also think a lot of, I think some of Boebert's loss is also due to the fact that Jared Polis performed really well. So a lot of Democrats coattailed.
I am glad Jared Polis won governorship.
Yeah, so I think Jared Polis doing really well pulled some Democrats over the edge by coattail riding. It's certainly what happened in New York with Lee Zeldin, since he was performing so well, and Kathy Hochul or Hochul, however you say her name.
Hochul, I think.
Is it Hochul?
Yeah, I thought maybe.
I don't know.
Maximus, I'm going to briefly minimize you and bring LSP back in, because LSP is a Democrat, and I want to hear his response to.
So I mean, good night for Dems, bad night for Republicans. That's the summary.
Okay. Okay. I think both sides. I personally think both sides are coping for the same reasons.
No.
But yes, the Democrats are coping by saying, "Oh, when it's Republicans are probably going to barely take both houses either way." They're coping and saying, "Oh yeah, even though the Republicans won, they basically didn't. There wasn't a red wave." They're coping just by saying there wasn't a red wave, whereas the Republicans are coping by saying, "Oh yeah, we still won." They're coping for the same exact reasons, and it's really funny because you rarely see this.
It was very middle of the line. There was nothing abnormal occurred. There wasn't a blue wave. There wasn't a red wave. It's historically about where it should be for midterms. And so I think everybody overall is somewhat disappointed.
No, it is not. It is not where it should be for midterms.
Historically, the party in control does worse in midterms. Like historically,
the Democrats
the
did a little.
losing out.
I mean, they're projected to lose the House, and the Senate's a toss-up. And they lost, and the Republicans did well in some states and did poor in some others. It's nothing remarkable.
They only did well in like 3 states.
No, so it's really a mix right now. Like, for example, races that the Democrats put a ton of money and a ton of energy and a ton of time in. For example, Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp, they lost and decisively.
I thought it went to. What's it called?
Going to runoff. Brian Kemp avoided a runoff. He has like 53% of the vote, I think.
No, you can't have 50. It can't be 50-50. You need more than 50, I thought.
I said 53.
Yeah, he had. Yeah, I think you're referring to Herschel Walker versus that one guy. I forget his name, because they're going to go. Yeah,
Raphael Warnock.
They're going to a runoff.
Okay.
So that, but not the governor's race though, and then other ones too, like there, for example, like, the Marjorie Greene Taylor versus that army vet Democrat guy. Like they put the Democrats raised over 30 million, I think, for that race and got a ton of publicity for it, but yet just lost so decisively. But in other cases, though, like for Lauren Boebert, for example, everyone I kind of assumed that that her race was safe. But now it's looking like she's going to lose. Mm-hmm. And then there are other ones right there where Republicans kind of thought, oh, we're safe, and yet they're losing. So it's really a mixed bag. Both Republicans and Democrats have lost, where the Democrats really put a ton of money in and more importantly, a ton of focus and attention on. They've either lost or they're going to a runoff, compared to Republicans who thought, oh, we don't need to worry about this seat, it's safe. And then they've been upset. So it's kind of a mix.
So Kilhoun, I'm going to minimize Kilhoun real quick, bring Maximus back, let Ken respond, or Alkazai respond to what Net7 just said, and then we're going to go over Missouri and Virginia, because those are the other two states where the panel are from. So,
Missouri results. Republicans win. That's it. Who cares?
well, I mean, yeah, but is there anything specific you want to say?
No. It is. Trudy Bush Valentine overperformed Biden by like a little bit, and that's it. We flipped some House districts in the state of Missouri. That's it. It's not interesting.
Would you vote for Austin Peterson?
No.
Anyway,
He is a lolcow. Austin Peterson is a
Maximus.
lolcow.
Maximus,
Yes.
Virginia.
My state is in Virginia. I'm from Maryland.
That's right. That's right. Oh, yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah, Maryland.
Turn
Yeah.
around there.
It basically is expected. It's a deep blue state, but it does have its advantages of basically having a giant federal gravy train, so they don't want to upset things too much, as long as we can keep Baltimore contained.
I know you guys do have a Republican governor though, but he's essentially
Yeah, we have a bit of a tradition of having very, very centristy Republican governors because there basically isn't much difference between what the Democrats run and what the Republicans run. So
especially in this area. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there was one interesting thing of note in that this primary around, the populists were able to win the primary in the Republicans with Dan Cox, who was pretty Fed posty. He was like a full-on QAnon dude and was on Gab for a while till and so yeah, he
Did he get banned from Gab because that's edgy? Like
No,
You just have the anti-Christian post on Gab, and Andrew Torba will lose his fucking mind.
No, he didn't do that. He basically listened to one of his campaign managers, and which I think was really dumb in the long term, because if he hadn't doubled down, he would have had long-term cachet, but he folded, so he decided to shut down his Parler and his Gab accounts, and so now it's like, okay, now you're just a predictably failed governorship, rather than like an interesting iconoclast that tried to gun for glory in a deep blue state. And so yeah, our current governor now looks like the Jamaican version of what's his name, Ezra Miller, Wes Moore, multi-millionaire investment banker, totally relatable man of the people.
Absolutely. No, but men of the people, populist candidates throughout history, going back to ancient Rome and even Greece, it's always been the really wealthy people who just tap into what the people want.
Oh yeah.
Like even Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a wealthy man. He pretends like he isn't. But he's a millionaire.
I thought he's a billionaire.
He hates the billionaires. That is it.
Yeah, there's a tasteful way to appeal to a man of the people. Trump in 2016 was able to do that.
Absolutely. He had a great campaign in 2016.
Whereas Fetterman, oh my gosh.
Well, we're going to get to Fetterman, but right now we're going to be talking about Georgia.
Excited.
But anyway,
Georgia.
Yeah, nothing else has really interesting happened in Maryland otherwise.
But Georgia, man, what a Herschel Walker. I'm just gonna say he's the gift that keeps on giving.
You see a speech?
He's not the sharpest crayon.
What was he talking about?
When Herschel Walker heard he was going to a runoff election, he started lining up on the 40-yard line.
He's not the sharpest crayon in the
toolbox.
I was trying to think of something
He's
not the sharpest crayon in the toolbox, you know.
He's not the sharpest crayon in the knife drawer, I guess.
He's the sharpest marble in my bag.
Hey, you know what? He is the sharpest marble in your bag. He's a dice.
Dude, I love the fact that we just have a guy running for Senate who very obviously is suffering from CTE. Like
he has brain damage. He has brain damage. Like he was a great football player back in or pretty good. He was a pretty good football player back in the day, and he seems like a friendly guy. But like,
I wouldn't call a guy who like threatens to kill his wife friendly. But
did he?
Was that substantiated? Yeah. I know there was a lot of like the claims around the domestic stuff, but was that actually substantiated?
Yeah, he was sued for it.
I know he's sued for it, but I meant in a criminal court. Was that actually substantiated, or was it just a civil thing?
I think it was just a civil thing.
Okay.
The dude paid for 2 abortions. Like that was.
That's weird. That is
2 abortions.
That's
I heard
he had multiple abortions.
Oh,
that's skeezy.
Which means there's probably more that we don't know about.
Yeah, he had like 6 secret kids, and he didn't tell his campaign.
He should have just
Like,
owned it.
his
Like,
campaign
half
was trying
of
to
it-
know how many
One of
kids
them
he
was on
has.
Twitter. One of them was on Twitter, and they follow each
I
other.
know.
And his last name is Walker.
I
Yeah,
He
saw
was one
that.
of the
Walker.
secret kids.
Honestly,
It
the
was funny.
funniest shit. He's literally
Yeah,
the black stereotype. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Is it on?
He's-
Look,
well,
man,
he's like
was
to- well, he
trying-
has- he
he
has
said-
to not
He said
pay
himself,
women
they were
for
trying to get 20%
abortions,
of the
but-
black vote in Georgia. You know, you got to do what you got to do.
Did
I
he
mean,
actually
they-
get
That's how I
20%?
would do
Did
it
he get
personally.
20% of the black vote?
No,
Ugh.
he got like 15 at most in some places.
What's funny is his,
Well,
high
it's kind of
school,
like
his high school history teacher, who's like,
Are you eating? Are you eating
No,
some of the
I'm
raisin
not.
bran?
Yeah,
Did you
I'm
get the
eating
cream cheese and you're eating it with?
I mixed I mixed chocolate milk and cream cheese and put it in my raisin bran.
You're fucking disgusting. You're an
No.
animal. You're a fucking animal.
No, but Hershey-
Unsweetened cream cheese. It's just like it's garden variety.
no, it's strawberry cream cheese.
Well, you know that could work. That would actually.
No,
work. I don't know
and
how
it-
it would mix in, but it'd be kind of like lumpy your cereal. You just like go to scoop and you're like, it's just a big bite of raw ass cream cheese.
Anyway, Herschel Walker, man,
The gift
again, the gift that keeps on giving. I don't care for Warnock. I don't know enough about him, but he's like a mainstream Democrat. So
Well, a major
Like,
thing he did was he lobbied the state to expand Medicare, or I'm sorry, Medicaid, the Obamacare Medicaid subsidies.
Well,
So
he's
a
also
lot
the
more
head
people
pastor at
became-
Ebenezer Baptist Church is the main thing
That
he's
too.
known for.
He's a pastor and he's a social activist.
Yeah. If for those who don't know, Ebenezer is MLK's church, where he was pastor.
really,
Yes.
Yeah.
why
He's
did I
based-
think I thought he was Episcopalian for some reason? I don't know why.
No,
He's
Nah,
basically
he's
One of
a-
us was a goddamn commie.
real and raw.
yeah. I mean,
But no, yeah.
Well,
So I mean, Warnock is just an incredibly good candidate for Georgia. He's just,
I don't disagree necessarily. I don't agree with him on politics, but he's better than Herschel Walker because you
Well,
come
yeah,
down to
I mean,
two,
like,
you come
he's
down
got-
to two
I mean-
people who have equally shitty like Herschel Walker has no policy because he has no idea what the fuck he's doing, whereas at least Warnock has policy. It might be shitty policy, but you have Herschel Walker and his entire MO in Congress. Well, it's not even going to be an MO if you can call it that, but it's basically going to be I vote Republican for everything. Herschel Walker hungry. Nom nom nom.
I threw football back in the
he's a
day.
wife beater. Be nice to him.
I threw football back in the
I'm
day.
sorry. He's a baby mama beater. Be nice to him.
You go
He
to
looks good for his age, though.
He
He's
does. He
60.
doesn't look too
He
bad.
looks amazing.
How
for
old
his
is he?
age.
Is he in his 50s?
He's like 61.
Oh, geez. He looks great.
He looks amazing for his age. I am not gonna lie. Like, but no, apparently his town, like the people in his town, even the Democrats, still like him, like as just like somebody from their town.
Maybe
But-
his
Yeah,
exes
there's
were just
actually-
super
Warnock
annoying. They're
actually
like,
put
that
out an
bitch
ad
deserved to
that
be
said-
beat.
No, because no, as a football player,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
it's like
Warnock actually.
imagine how hated Tom Brady would be like nationwide if he quit and he became a politician.
Which one's Tom Brady?
He won
Patriots.
well, not
Which
Patriots
ones are the
anymore.
Patriots?
He's like, is
Not
it?
anymore.
He was Buccaneers, and now is he still Buccaneers? Or
I
is
don't
he
know, I
like
don't
the
watch
Bucks
football.
now? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
Or Buffalo Bills.
also,
maybe.
speaking
The
of
Buffalo
speaking of, like
Bills,
people
shut
liking
up.
Herschel as a football player, Warnock actually put out like a really good ad that said we like Warnock as a football player, but we wouldn't like him as a senator. And he had like 5 people say that over and over again.
Oh, that's
It was
sweet.
like it was a really weird ad.
That's
It was
actually kinda
creative though.
nice.
I'll have to find the ad because it was kind of funny.
But either way, so let's move on to talk about Brian Kemp versus Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams, okay, she's politically savvy, but she's an awful candidate. She's just not a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bad candidate.
She's also a crybaby.
Yeah.
I thought what she said happened to her when she was 19 was like actually did, at least from a female perspective, it did make her very sympathetic.
What happened to her at 19?
She was forced into an abortion, and she described how she changed her mind and they wouldn't let her leave and they forced it on her.
Well, I thought she was pro-abortion.
I know. I'm just saying, like, her describing that experience made her a very sympathetic. At least,
Okay.
I
like
mean,
that. Like to me, like it definitely pulled at my heartstrings when I heard that. And
Also,
so I could see that
Politico, you
playing in
can
her
like
favor.
be pro-choice and be like against forced abortions.
Yeah,
Well, okay, I know,
also-
but like I'm surprised that she would have made that such a big deal in terms
Yeah,
of like telling a
I mean,
story. That's all I
obviously.
mean. Like I'm not surprised that she would have been against it, but I'm just surprised that
It was very real.
especially as someone who doesn't believe that heartbeats like
I don't know if she actually believes that or not. She doesn't seem very genuine. So I will say the interview that she did give where she told that story did come across extremely genuine. If she could have kept that going for her whole campaign, like that actual genuineness, I think she would have won.
Well, I know
But she came across as very fake a lot of the other time.
But
I do think she does. So she not quite to his extent, but as a political boss, like a machine boss, she is really good.
Yeah.
As a candidate, she's all like, I mean, she's probably, I mean, she is, I'm not going to say she's definitely not like Huey Long, but she's the closest thing that the Democrats have to Huey Long now, not policy wise, but in terms of running a solid political machine in the South.
Is she a good manager?
She's really good at mobilizing the base. She's really good at creating infrastructure in her state.
She's not good at carrying that over to a campaign.
Yeah, no, she's really good at that.
Okay.
Either way, so Brian Kemp is a moderate. Everybody in Georgia, most people in Georgia seem to like him. He's been going in the anti-Trump direction, which I guess makes him just your typical. I mean, I don't know. He's a basic bitch Republican boomer-con type, but I mean, I'm not surprised because of everywhere except Atlanta is Republican in Georgia effectively. So I am going to.
Well, here's a.
What were you saying?
Well, here's an interesting thing. Well, I was going to say, well, here's an interesting thing about Stacey Abrams is that, cry foul on, election denial stuff, from like the MAGA types, which was deserved, but she essentially ran a campaign on election denial. And even now, some of her fans are still saying, election stolen. Like I got one person on Twitter who said, "You cheated by rigging the voting machines to cast thousands of votes your way," referencing Brian Kemp. You cheated. And it's like, you're saying the exact same things the MAGA people did, which were completely disproven, but you just essentially, it's just horseshoe theory.
Okay, but it's not to the same extent the Trump election deniers did. I've been criticizing Stacey Abrams for this since 2018, but it is nowhere near to the extent that the Donald Trump election deniers did.
Well, it's because they actually tried to go and make a case for it, like legally, like they've been and like all over the country. But Stacey Abrams, remember, tried too, and she failed miserably. But she's still pushing. Her fans are still pushing it. The reality is that for the people like that, it's like, oh, I'm gonna criticize it when it's politically convenient for me to do so. But if I can use it to try and muddy the waters, then I'm gonna do it. I think that's hypocritical.
And so I don't say this in terms of like empirical evidence, because of course all the empirical evidence goes against the suggestion. But if you're to compare the two, and when I say empirical evidence, I'm referring specifically to the Trump. But if you have to compare the likelihood of which one was stolen, the Trump election in 2020 is more believably stolen than Stacey Abrams, just because of the difference between the margin. Like I forget what percentage Stacey Abrams vote. Didn't she lose by like 6% in 2018? It was something like that.
No, she lost by 44,000 votes. It was very close.
Was it close? Oh, okay. So comparatively speaking, was it closer than Trump in Biden?
No, depending on the state. Like Pennsylvania, no. Georgia, it was less close. So like the 2020 election in Georgia and Arizona and Wisconsin were closer, but not in Michigan and Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio.
Okay.
So yeah, it depends on the state, but generally, no.
I'm just saying, I think that the Trump election fraud claim is more believable than the Stacey Abrams one. If I had to choose it from like
well, her claim wasn't
a priori
claim,
reasoning.
Her claim specifically was that Kent, in his role, because he was at the during the 2018 election, he was the Secretary of State, is that he purged mostly Democrats from the voter rolls right before the election, and that affected the outcome. That was her claim. Her claim was not that votes were switched or thrown out or altered in some way. It's that people who would have voted for her were prevented from doing so.
I mean, it's
Yeah, she was
effectively the same
saying
result,
election
though.
stolen. And and the thing is now she's saying exactly what the people, her sycophants essentially are saying the same exact thing that other people said in the past for the 2020 election. Oh, you literally had the machines literally change the vote and rig it to your way.
I mean,
she's just so what's happening now is that her team are essentially just switching tactics and switching their
the
attack.
claims were abundantly stupid because she underperformed Warnock by quite a bit. Like, people just don't like her.
She's just whiny.
She's a bad candidate politician.
She's a bad politician. She's a good organizer. I think she is a great organizer, and if I'm going to give her anything, I'm going to give her that.
Yeah,
she is an intelligent. She is an intelligent person.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean the intelligent people are always the good people.
No, I'm not.
Speaking of a person who's a good organizer, but a bad, political, campaigner. Beto O'Rourke is just bad organizer and bad political campaigner.
I think he's a better campaigner than he is organizer.
Well, okay, I give you that, but he still lost decisively. But yeah, he has charisma.
He lost decisively.
He has
Texas,
charisma.
like, just to be fair.
Like, he has like that charisma, and he can really energize the progressive base and stuff like that. But again, it's he just keeps losing.
If he carpetbags to California, honestly, he would definitely win. And
also, shout out to Harry Reid from Beyond the Grave, altering the weather in rural northern Nevada to suppress Republican turnout. Real for that.
Badass. Good job, Harry Reid.
I mean, didn't Nevada just go red, or did it go blue?
No, it's Catherine Cortez Masto is slowly regaining ground because more votes are coming in from Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. But there was a snowstorm in northern rural Nevada today.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there was actually a pretty bad snowstorm all the way from Washington down to Nevada and over. Like, I got 5 inches of snow just today in Montana.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So, yeah, that was a lot of shoveling. It was great.
Anyway, so we're going to move on to the big one. Everyone know what the big one is?
No.
Is it Don't Say Gay?
No, not Don't Say Gay.
I sent you the evidence, by the way.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Hold on. Fuck.
Is it Fetterman?
I ruined that. I got the picture from.
Also, I just want to appreciate how Josh Shapiro did.
Who?
Oh my god, yes. You want to? Oh man.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. No, I'm glad Mastriano lost.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Mastriano.
Bro. This must have been what the Battle of Vienna felt like.
I'm actually we just need to say the candidates for Pennsylvania for Senate though they were both pretty bad.
No, John Fetterman was a good candidate. If you don't think so, you're code.
No, I'm not. Okay, the thing is, I mean, Dr. Oz is a good example of how. Okay, so I know the Republicans have gone super far right, but the Democrats have also gone super far left. Like, Dr. Oz is a liberal. who ran as a Republican. Like, yeah, his abortion comments were like dumb, but at the same time, he's not a conservative. I mean, maybe in the sense that he's a Muslim, but I also think
No,
it's really
not even then. He's like the worst practicing Muslim ever.
Well,
He's cheated on his wife multiple times.
Sufi. The only reason I wanted him to win was because he's a Sufi.
Even then, like I'm like, no, he's not even a based Sufi. He's a cringe Sufi. So yeah, no.
You mentioned Renee Guénon once. He has cited Renee Guénon once in his life, which I can respect.
Yeah, but then he supports homosexuality and transgenderism. I'm like, yeah, no, a true Sufi would be like, no, that is let's just say metaphysical distortion of their soul.
The homosexuality part for a Sufi, yes, but I can see a Sufi being more, I guess, tolerant towards trans people for the sole sense that there is a Gnostic element to it. But probably not still.
I let's go ask some Sufis then. Let's ask Guénon.
Guénon would definitely be against transgenderism, but
exactly. It's pretty self-evident that like Sufis would be against transgenderism, but yet Dr. Oz has rationalized himself into betraying his own beliefs and to believe that transgenderism is fine. I'm just saying from his own Weltanschauung, he is completely retarded.
Either way. But imagine being beaten by somebody who just suffered from a stroke less than a month ago.
I gotta say,
Pennsylvanians back in May.
Pennsylvanians
I can believe it.
to amaze me at how disappointing they can be as a collective state and people. They picked Oz in the primary, and then they picked Fetterman in the runoff or in the election.
The funny thing is, they both seem like perfectly nice guys. Like, I'm not even lying. They seem like pleasant people, but their attacks of each other are just petty. It's like Fetterman and Oz are like the two people, the only two like candidates I could have pictured who could have a civil debate. But essentially because they are both politically very boring. But you also have paid Democratic shills on Twitter. Like, you guys know Brooklyn Dad Defiant? Anyone aware? No.
Brooklyn,
I say,
what's his name? Brooklyn, West Virginia is a swing state dad.
Yeah. No, but he basically said, "Oh my God, this is so big. Oprah endorsed Fetterman." It's like, yeah, no shit. Are you surprised? It's like, yeah, she's friends with Dr. Oz, but like, are you surprised that she endorsed Fetterman over Republican Oz? It's like this. It's kind of ridiculous.
I think they honestly just do that for shock value. I honestly believe that none of these people actually are genuine, or if they are genuine, then it's only because essentially they live in the lapse of luxury and they can have luxury beliefs like that. So,
all right, I'm gonna head out. I gotta go. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, Alcaz. I think with a little bit of time you could come.
Yeah, essentially Oprah's paid, is what I'm saying.
Beppis is back. How are you doing, Beppis?
Alive.
Comments on the Oz Fetterman.
Did you watch the debate?
I watched highlights.
Give me your best Fetterman.
My best Fetterman? I can't do it.
Roe v. Wade. V. Wade. I want to talk about
It's like good morning, everybody. Remember he said good morning?
Oh my God, it bummed me out so much. Poor dude. They missed his neck bulge though in this drawing. Bums me out. Who made this drawing?
I don't know. I think it was
we'll back out and at least credit the artist if you're gonna display their art like this freely.
Bezos Post.
Walk back out and see if there's an artist tag for it. But what about it's either the Pennsylvania Senate or the Pennsylvania House where they elected the dead guy.
Who's the dead guy?
They elected someone who passed away a month ago.
Did they?
Yes.
Then who become
democracy at its finest.
I just wanted to bring that one up. It was like, wow, they really elected the dead guy. I know that's happened before, not in Pennsylvania, but in other places throughout the years.
Doesn't that mean his opponent becomes automatically?
Huh?
Does that mean his opponent automatically wins?
No, they'll either
No, it
hold
means
a
it goes to,
special
like, a runoff.
election, or they will the governor will appoint.
Yeah, like a special election.
That, okay.
But did you back out and see if there's a
No.
byline for that art?
Nope.
At least try.
I did.
I don't believe you.
Well,
What'd
don't
you
have to believe
Google?
me. Either way, so
What'd you Google so I can try to find?
it doesn't matter.
It kind of does if you're using somebody's
No,
art.
we're not talking about this right now. We need to stay on topic. Net 7, Oz Fetterman.
I think he's gone.
Net 7.
Um,
People should at least mention when they are going. Like, it's kind of rude.
You know what else is rude? You're
Yeah.
not crediting artists.
Yes, this is a background thing. This is
Yeah, I get that. And so, what did you Google so I can try to find the artist?
we'll just do like a reverse Google search of it.
yeah. Either way, so Kilhoon, who
but,
are you in?
Well, I think you know. It's either a cockroach, Sufi, or it's a brain dead white guy. At least I think he's a white guy. You never know
Allegedly.
these days. Yeah, he could be another Turk in disguise like Oz, but
I don't like his soul patch. His soul patch is really bad.
yeah, but besides that, like honestly, I just say this is democracy, clearly choosing the best person to run the country that they deserve. So, or whatever this office was, I don't even remember. Was it for governor? Was it which seat was it for?
Senate.
Oh, Senate. Well, then they don't even govern anything.
Herschel Walker and John Fetterman. It's just like, I don't know. The more and more people, like, I feel like we're moving to a point where, like, the Senate is just going to be filled with a bunch of brain damaged people.
Well, I mean, that's what democracy always chooses. Let's ask Plato his opinion on Athenian democracy.
Do you guys remember the movie? Oh, what was it? I forget who was in it.
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Yeah, was that Dax Shepard? I think it was. But it was Mike Judge. Did Mike Judge make it? I think he did.
Yeah, that was Mike Judge.
Okay. Yeah. So the Idiocracy. I feel like that's what we're moving towards. 500 years is gonna be the House of Representing with the WWE. Like, that guy reminded me of Herschel Walker, the Terry Cruz's character in that
Yeah,
movie.
President Camacho.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Like, that's what we are moving towards, idiocracy.
I'm wondering.
And I don't think Fetterman's an idiot. I think Herschel is, but Fetterman just can't help it. Kind of like Biden.
I mean,
I bet we can get the Kentucky GOP to run a horse for Senate successfully when Mitch McConnell kicks the bucket.
Inshallah.
I mean,
only Republican in Kentucky I like is Thomas Massey.
I mean, if I was the vice president, I would bring my horse in and say, you know, this is a new president of the Senate.
Didn't that happen once? Somebody, like, a horse actually got elected, like, in 18 fucking something.
I'm not surprised, because honestly, the horse would do a better job than the retards that democracy always selects for.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, democracy is always disingenuous.
No, it's a cover for the rule of money. It's always been the rule of money.
It's the bourgeoisie's favored political structure because of that.
Precisely. But yeah, either way. Wait, would you say the bourgeois, actually, so this is a question for you. Is the bourgeois the equivalent of, like, the yeoman farmers, would you say, in the Middle Ages, Kilhoon?
No, because they toil the land for their wealth.
I mean, not the yeoman farmers. I'm talking about, like, the wealthy peasants that you had, who had, like,
no. I still consider those part of the peasant class. The merchants / the bourgeoisie, they specifically get capital by essentially not labor at that
usury
point. That's basically. Usury is one method, but also typically just owning shares in companies, like trying to separate themselves from labor as much as possible, and they develop a very laissez-faire attitude to all of life, and they don't realize the actual struggle for life, like the peasant and the warrior and has to deal with.
LSP's old buddy Chris, friend of the show, talking about how his state just went blue. He campaigned, didn't? I believe Chris campaigned, actually went door to door. He actually did.
He posted in my server about it. It's like cringe. He posted something like, "I actually live my values," and just like, okay, like.
I'm still surprised you guys don't get along. Like, I mean, okay, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's like
talks like so much shit, like for like no reason.
I mean, so does Volt, but but I mean, I think that they're good guys. I haven't had Chris on in a while though, but either way. So, say we have an intermission right now. You guys can go if you want, but we're just going to be kind of like. I'm not going to be actually putting on the intermission tonight. I haven't been doing that lately. I just feel like they're maybe a bit too long.
Well, I'm
gonna have to rework that. No. I'm not going to be doing that. So for the next like 5 minutes, we're just going to be shooting the shit a little bit.
Matt, before we go to intermission, I just wanted to say it looked like the artist for that is most likely Hannah Dormito on Twitter. If you wanted to credit her.
Send me put it in private chat, and I will see if I remember to put it in the show notes.
She works for the Washington Post as a cartographer and reporter.
Cartographer, okay.
Yeah, and she posts a lot of art on her Twitter.
I like her style. It's fun. It's fun. The Dr. Oz looks too much like Harry Osborn, though.
I think it's cute though.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, doesn't he look like Harry Osborn from the Spider-Man comics, kind of?
He's somewhat of a politician himself.
No. That's Norman Osborn. I'm sorry for nerding out here, but
he looks like Daddy Defoe.
Daddy Defoe. All right, so we can keep going on. Like, I guess everyone's still here. We don't have to do an intermission. Let's just keep pushing on. We're only gonna go to like maybe like 2:10 tonight. So, I'm not 2:10 tonight, but like as in just another 50 minutes. But. Either way, what other major elections were there? I feel like I'm forgetting at least one. We talked about Arizona, talked about Florida, talked about Georgia, finishing Pennsylvania, New York, because there was a red wave in New York.
He did remarkably well. Lee Zeldin.
Who was he again?
Was the Republican for New York.
Senator?
No, the one who was running for state, the governor.
I mean, that's what I meant. Governor. He won. Yeah.
Did he win? I thought.
Or runoff, right?
No, I thought Hochul won, but he did remarkably well. Like, considering what New York is.
Yeah, it's right now 52.8% to 47.2%.
If they called it?
For New York, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's called 94%
That's what I mean.
reporting.
Yeah, I thought that
But yeah, what I do think is pretty screwed up though is you had people like Larry Sharp who were taken off the ballot for not even being he was on in 2018, but he got more votes this year as a write-in candidate. But they took his name off the ballot because, again, the election commission should not be controlled by the political parties. That is a fundamental conflict of interest.
Well, then who's going to control it? I mean, honestly, in the system, everything is politicized.
An independent commission.
Yeah, but who's going to select for that independent commission? Like, I'm just saying, in this Republican system where everything's elected, you're never going to have this non-bias committees and all that.
Look, we all have our biases certainly in our person, but that doesn't mean we always act on those biases. You know, people can put their biases to the door and say, you know, like, all right, we can do our job as Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and do it fairly and properly. You know, it happens all the time. Now, it's becoming less and less common today in this era, obviously, of hyper politicization of stuff, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't, just because more and more it's becoming less popular to be nonpartisan in rules like this, because nowadays, which you're seeing among the regressive progressive side for the left, and also some of the MAGA types on the right, is that now it's like, well, if you're not for us 100% all the time, then you're part of the problem. You're a sellout. But so yes, there is that problem, but it doesn't mean though that people cannot do it. We still do it all the time.
It's like think of like this might not be the best example, but I think this is a good example because she got ostracized for this. And I remember it was like Tommy Lahren back in like 2020. She's basically the latest Fox News Barbie. Like I don't know, she's maybe like 29 or something. Pretty attractive, but I don't know if anyone knows who she is, but she came out in favor of abortion, and she said we need to retake feminine. And she's a feminist too, like not like a hardcore. She's like kind of like a turfy, I guess, but a feminist and pro-abortion, conservative on literally everything else. That's what got her fired from the Blaze.
Yeah.
Also, finish.
No, that's it. That's it. But yeah, no,
Okay,
Chris is right. Yeah, no, she got fired from the Blaze for being a feminist and for being not pro-abortion, just pro-choice. Like,
I thought you said she was pro-abortion.
I meant pro-choice. That's what I meant. I think we need to draw a bit of a distinction there. But yeah,
What's the distinction?
well, just pro-abortion means you think abortion is a good thing. Pro-choice is just generally you believe they should have the choice. So I'd consider myself reluctantly pro-choice, but I think people who are legitimately pro-abortion, I think that is a disgusting position.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Well,
another good example.
You ones that especially fetishize it, that might as well be Moloch worshippers.
Exactly, like that Bilderberg group, according to Alex Jones. But yeah, no. But Net7, what were you saying? I know you mentioned Kristen Cinema because I know you're at least in private chat. Is he still? Yeah, he's still in here. Are you there? You want to talk about Kristen Cinema because I guess she's a good example of somebody on the left.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention it, but then I thought you were going to talk about it, so I was like, I cut out, and then like you were cutting in and out, so maybe it was like my end or something. But yeah, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin then are good examples then for what happened on the left, because then they said, well, I have some concerns about these certain bills, about the cost and how we're going to pay for it, and Democrats literally just went ham on them for saying, how dare you criticize the bill, and how dare you not come out and full-fledged support of it. And there were open talks, like open discussion, not just like to literally get them primaried. And in the case of Kristen Sinema, the progressive element here in AZ is determined when the next election comes, even though it's been a while. They're like, no, we want to primary her, and we want to like get someone who's much more amenable to sticking the party line. And so
Yeah, but I agree exactly with
even
what,
though that we can't at times.
And you saw the same thing with your side back in 2018 through like 2022 with Mitt Romney. Like Mitt Romney was basically the Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema of the right. They're saying, oh, he's basically a Democrat just because he voted to impeach Trump. And I do think Mitt Romney, I know he's not a neocon, but I'll just say boomercon. For a boomercon, he's consistent. He's principled. I don't agree with him, but like I can respect Mitt Romney to an extent. But yeah, no, they're doing exactly the same thing that they did to Manchin and Sinema. Speaking of the Democrats, what the Republicans did to Romney back during the Trump era. Or the first Trump era, because there could be a second. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully not. I want DeSantis, but
I'd prefer if I had to choose. Like, I'm going to be voting at 100% Republican primaries in 24.
Well, the thing with DeSantis is that we don't know his foreign policy.
Well, I'm
like
just going to
anything to
say
do with his foreign policy.
Super Tuesday, I'm going to be voting against Trump by probably voting for DeSantis.
Well, it depends on, like, I want
Well,
them to have a legit
here-
primary. If they're both going to attempt to run, I'd like them to do the whole rigmarole in the debate and see who comes out on top with it, instead of just conceding for one or the other due to conceived popularity.
I think this is that DeSantis cannot make the mistake Chris Christie made in 2012, which was not to run when he was at the height of his popularity. Look, so if DeSantis wants to run, he's got 2 more years to think about it. But he needs to be he should be running. He's at the height of his political power. He's at the height of his popularity. At this point right now, he needs to be essentially setting up a committee to look into an election and literally, within the next 6 months, announce that he's going to run or not. And he cannot make the same mistake Chris Christie did in 2012. Chris Christie in 2012, won re-election for governor of New Jersey. He was extremely popular with the conservative base in the Republican Party, particularly with his successful fights with the teachers' unions and other left-wing groups.
Teachers'
And
unions are fundamentally evil. I'm just going to say teachers' unions are fundamentally evil. And I'm not like one of those people who's like, oh, it's a pedophile cult. I think that's like the whole pedophile cult stuff is stupid.
Yeah, it's only about 70% of pedophile cult.
No, but I'm just going to say like the teachers' unions, basically they are in the business to protect pedophiles. That's all I'm going to say. This is a debate for a later
What you
day.
you mean people that specifically choose to work with small
I'm just
children
curious, would you
that
say
attracts a certain type of
It's the
person?
same reason the
Would
Catholic
y'all
Church
say
did
this
that.
about the Catholic Church too?
No, I
Yeah,
just said
but,
the same
like,
thing.
look
It's
at
the
the
same thing
rates.
for the Catholic Church.
I
Yeah,
know,
but
but there was like 200 in the past year for Catholics.
No, at least the Catholic
around
Church.
the world, and there was like what 27,000 for teachers so far this
I'm
year
just saying,
in America alone.
at least the Catholic Church, number one, is addressing that issue finally,
Yeah,
and number two, at least the Catholic Church, it's only 6% of priests compared to 12% of public school.
I think it's almost near 30,000 reports of abuse and of overall abuse in the public school system in America this year.
Yeah, it's like,
Which I don't know the rates for Catholic priests or Catholic officials in the United States this year.
United
You can
States
look
is
it up.
actually lower than it is in South America. South America.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, in South
about
America.
that. But there's more Catholics in South America, so there's probably more priests to go through.
Yeah, everyone in America is, or
Yeah.
everyone in South
Yep.
America is a Catholic, and the Protestants in South America who aren't Catholics are race traders. That's Gilhoon,
Yes.
and I joked about that one time.
Yes, they are race traders. They should be made to
Oh,
repent
gosh.
for their sins.
Of being brown.
I mean, when you really boil it down, like the Catholicism that the Pentecostals are replacing. Is
Well,
not
they're all
terribly much
they're all
different.
Spaniards. I mean, by
Okay,
by
we're
the
not talking
way,
about this. Okay.
those people are all Spaniards. Spaniards mostly in blood, and there's some native mixed in there.
Blah blah blah. Okay, Gilhoon. We know you're a papist. All right. Let's get to is Maximus still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Is my
All right.
Wait, can you guys hear me? Am I clear?
Yeah, we can hear you. I just haven't heard you say anything in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just been yeah, my angle on politics is much more on the aesthetic idea level as opposed to like the
Policy.
the kind of like nitty gritty organizational level. More shit posting and grand ideas than management and whipping up the votes.
Shit posting and grand ideas. That is an amazing combination.
That's why the Democrats keep winning, is because they have the culture.
I'm just
That's
saying, yeah,
literally the
even,
only reason.
Even Sargon
I might
came out with
suggest-
like one of his Lotus Eaters things today, and was like, Democrats are more competent than Republicans. I'm like, okay,
They have much better ground game. They do.
They do.
They own the cultural institutions. They own the news institutions, and quite frankly, they have much better ground game, especially in cities. Like, you could take 2 Democrat activists and they could hit 3 apartment buildings and talk to over 1,000 people, versus 2 Republican activists that go walk 15 miles in the middle of nowhere and talk to 4 people. And that's the thing. So if like that's why Democrats like mail-in ballots tend to favor Democrats. It's much easier to hand them out to Democrats who predominantly live in higher condensed areas versus Republicans who tend to be a little more rural. Like, it's no wonder they have
Yeah,
the ground game
I
they
want to
do.
jump on that. Yeah, I want to jump on that too,
Can I-
because you're right about Democrats having a better game. Is like, especially like even too on social media. So like when it comes to like online on the Twitter space, for example, like you'll see the Republican pages for like Republican candidates, in hotly contested elections, whether it's Don J. Bacon in Nebraska or Brian Kemp in Georgia. Those progressives will hit every single tweet that they bring out, and they'll throw a criticism out, or they'll throw something out, or they'll do something. And then you look at the pages for their opponents, like Tony Vargas, who's like, it's all like the Republicans don't do that. The Republican and
Democrats are much better at organizing. Like organizing like on the small ground game. They're good at boycotting, and they're good at getting like 20 people to write 100 emails, to send to people. And they're very good at that type of coercion, I guess, if you want to say. And I guess there could be an argument to be made about big tech censorship definitely playing into that. I think 2016 really scared, like the meme magic, I think really, really scared a lot of establishment forces in that respect, because it became funny and popular for a brief second to vote for Trump. And I think that's the big thing, and that's why there's been such a social media crackdown the past few years. And you could say bots play a little bit into it, and maybe they do on Twitter and Reddit, but suffice to say, Democrats are just better at organizing.
That is very true. Like, I mean, there's no doubt about that. And anybody who tries to say, like, I've heard Dave Rubin and people like that talk about, oh, the Republicans, they have such a good.
They don't riot. Republicans don't riot.
Except for that one time.
Except for that one.
Except
And
for
even
that one
there was
time.
a few pockets of violence, and then breaking and entering. And
people died.
they lost their fucking minds.
The Republicans will start rioting as soon as they don't have jobs, essentially.
I get that to a certain extent, but like Republicans are bad at boycotting. They're bad at just like doing the email campaigns to, going out and knocking on doors. They're bad at canvassing,
They also buy into boomer truth, where they think everybody's an individualist as well, which that's retarded.
I think that's the thing. Like, there are people that can manage themselves and be more individualistic, but the vast majority of people are at least nowadays, it's very, you ever see that one video, the drunk guy that stumbles into an elevator, strips himself down, and then starts peeing on the controls for the elevator, and the elevator stalls out and he's trapped in there?
That's
sad
funny.
to say, that's like that's like a good portion of people right there,
John Fetterman.
You go peeing on elevators.
That's why the majority of people need their morality dictated to them by somebody
a lot
who
of
can
people
actually
are very
formulate
checked
it.
out. And you could.
And that's what they do. They do have their morality dictated to them. That's why.
Yeah, that's why we're in the issue that we're in right now. At least when it was generally when everybody was generally on the same page due to religious similarities, for good or for bad, you saw different outcomes than you saw today.
Yeah, it's because we don't fundamentally. Our culture is divided on which gods are we
Well, there's
worshiping.
nothing. It's not even that. It's just there's nothing that like, what's the last thing that like every single American, be it like a TV show or a book that came out or just some event that everybody watched on TV, that the whole
Game of
America.
Thrones.
Yeah, I
original
think
Game of
Game of Thrones. Like, it used to be the Super Bowl. Like, even people that didn't really like football, they at least watched the commercials, or they were at a party. The vast majority of people, like, a good 80%.
Super Bowl growing up.
Yeah, you do have the fractionation of media.
Like,
and
there's not only cultural decay, but there's also like fragmentation. Like, there's no unifying thing for a large majority of Americans anymore.
I was telling Beppis this right before this, and she said she would bully me if I ever said this in public.
Okay.
But
let me see if I'm gonna still bully you.
No, but modern life. But I just told her straight up. I was like, modern life is nothing more than a heap of broken images where old stories lie buried beneath modern streets.
Yeah, but you said it because I posted that meme of not liking celebrities.
That's true.
And that was your response to me saying I don't like celebrities.
But it is true. No, I mean, I'll say it again. Modern life is nothing more than a heap of broken images where old stories lie beneath modern streets. That's the perfect way of summing up how it is these days.
In some respects, yeah. But I think that's why, like, if people really wanted to see a quote unquote red wave, you have to take the cultural institutions, and that's why I think the establishment gets so terrified. Wherein, like, if you have a non-mainstream person saying political things, that's okay. But the second they try to broach into something apolitical, like what happened with Eric July, you know, the second he broached into,
in case anyone doesn't know.
The second he broached into more of an apolitical production of art and comics, the mainstream lost their mind.
I mean, and I think he's still a libertarian. I know.
No, I get that, but it was these were comics that were largely apolitical. You know, even if they had somewhat libertarian bent, you could argue. But at the end of the day, it was just superheroes fighting people, like classic comic style.
That's what they're supposed to be. That is what
I know, and that's the scary part, because that takes over culture. You're going to get people that aren't interested in politics involved in a space that isn't completely controlled by the mainstream, and that's the terrifying part. Like or hate Tim Pool. Look at the reaction when he posted that political song that he posted a few years ago, and then when he posted just that soft rock, like my girlfriend broke up with me song. They lost their fucking minds, you know?
No, I think the song was just mediocre.
The song was, right? But it's the fact that he made something apolitical that appealed to people who aren't political, like that aren't into politics. And that's the scary thing, because that has the potential of taking cultural spaces.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Especially especially back to the superhero comics, for instance. Like, those were things that united all Americans. Just these symbols, these figures, these mythological figures. And I guess Jesus is a good first example of that, like, for America. But all these mythological figures used to unite us, specifically in the context of early 21st century America, the superheroes. But now those are getting politicized.
Pop culture.
And yeah, exactly.
But there isn't pop culture anymore. It's too fragmented. And
it is pop culture. It's even more pop culture.
Pop culture being popular, right? And there can be things that are popular, but they don't reach the vast majority of Americans, right? And I think that the internet plays a lot into that. It's very easy to have very niche, small communities that thrive. And because of that fragmentation, there's nothing like... It's different when you had the 10 TV channels, right? And everybody in America watched that, you know?
Part of the problem is, especially now for our big corporatized media, is that it runs into the problem of particularity versus broad appeal. Like right now, like for example, the MCU is programmed for an IQ 92, vaguely third world person that can kind of understand enough English to pick up on snarky lines. But it's primarily there for pictures. There is no middle brow kind of mid budget picture market anymore, because
hot take here. Speaking of the MCU, but there is a chance that the new Black Panther and the new Ant-Man of all things might be decent.
Regardless if it's decent or not, I want to go back to what Maximus was saying. I think you're 100% right, and I think the issue is very multifaceted. But if JR, if you want to, it was from Hot Ones. It was Matt Damon gave an extremely poignant perspective on that phenomena.
Matt Damon?
But from an insider, he gave not the perspective. Like, he gave a very interesting perspective, and it explains a lot. But apolitically explains a lot, like just money-wise explains why this is a big reason why mainstream media, like art media, is the way it is. Like, basically what he said was, there's another spider. One second. So basically what he said was, back in the day, a lot of films that were made, they'd make the money that they made on opening day and opening week, right, through the theaters. But they relied heavily on VHS and then DVD buys 6 months later to recoup a lot of the costs of making the movie.
Mostly marketing. It was that's mostly to make up for marketing DVD
Well,
sales.
that's what he was saying, was that there was a massive portion of producers and studios that would rely on that secondary DVD or VHS release. And now, since everything is streaming, there's a massive loss in revenue, and the art industry hasn't really caught up to it, in the sense of now it's kind of turning into a pump and dump of the cheapest media we can make quickly to stream. Because streaming, like the amount of people that actually stream, because it's bifurcated into so many different streaming platforms.
Which I literally have every single streaming
You
platform.
are my mortal enemy.
No, I'm just saying, no, it's not me.
You are my direct mortal enemy. It's on fucking sight when I see.
No, to be fair, it is between me, my brothers, and my parents.
It's on sight. It's on sight. But regardless of that, it's bifurcated between all these different streaming platforms. So actual number, like the amount of people that stream things, is significantly lower. You know, thus it results in we will make cheap pump and dumps that are easy to sell to places like China. And so that's why nothing is really artistic. Nothing's really, at least that you see a lot from Hollywood, nothing's really pushing it. Nothing's really like adventurous. And that's why everything is just a repackaging or a rebranding or like an old IP that's being remade. Like there was that one thread on Twitter that was the one guy that made Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and the Powderpuff Girls, saying that they were going to be remaking Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Why would you? That was like.
Well, no, and this is what he said.
That's
is
not
that
something to remake though?
I know, and this is what he said, because someone asked him why are they remaking that, and he said, I pitched over 16 original cartoons to Amazon, to Netflix, to several different places, and all of them just wanted me to rehash old IPs. Thus, there's going to be a new Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
It's because they want you to consume products, wait for next product, so that way they can they can continue this endless loop cycle of just feeding products to people, get them money, and then hash out another mediocre product. That's film. That's all art today. Like I was watching the 10 Commandments like the other day, like the classic film, and it's like, you know,
good film.
Yeah, it's like what budget did they have? They probably didn't have much, but it's an epic film.
Adjusted to inflation is important.
Yeah, no,
I know, adjusted for, but they didn't have fancy CGI. They didn't have all these computer generated effects. They just had people. They had basic studios. They had basic camera equipment, and they made an amazing film.
Yeah, they relied on practical effects and actual talent for it.
Yep, and actually like good Shakespearean style acting as well.
Yes.
No, Charlton
and that's the thing, and that's why they keep rehashing these old IPs, is because we know it was successful in the past. We're not going to take a risk and say anything or do anything fun or interesting, because that might lose us money, because streaming is terrible. Thus, we'll just keep rehashing, like beating dead horses. That's why everything's an adaptation or a remake.
No, it's all reboots, sequels, rom-coms, and superhero films.
Like when was the last, like Breaking Bad was probably one of the last extremely popular things that the majority of Americans ended up watching and enjoying. That was a newer idea.
We are still in peak TV. No, because I'm gonna say this.
Not.
Okay, we are. Okay, the two shows everyone loves are The Boys and Cobra Kai. Those two
I've
shows
not watched
still unite
either
people.
of those, and that's the thing. It's like there's nothing that really, like, everybody watched Game of Thrones. Everybody watched Breaking Bad. Like, that was a safe.
The Sopranos was the first.
Like,
really.
that's a safe thing that you could talk about at the quote unquote water cooler. That was a shared American experience, right? The Boys. I mean, you know, it's popular. Don't get me wrong, but it's not.
It appeals to both sides.
It's not. No, not. It's not. It doesn't
you
have
realize
that X factor, man.
There were people at the January 6th, whatever you want to call it. It's not a
riot,
coup, but riot, insurrection, whatever. Who were dressed as the Homelander. which was really funny.
No, I get that. I understand what you're saying, but we're not at any peak. There is a clear decay in American media culture.
No, absolutely. I'm just
and
saying
when it comes to the
TV is that
mainstream,
last bastion.
the only places you really see new up and coming media that's independent films, like the Daily Wire is producing a few good things here and there.
Independent writing.
Yeah, independent writing. Like everything is, I think, bifurcated to a point. And don't get me wrong, I love so much of what the internet has done, but it has definitely created so much to consume that it's like you can just dig your way into some little niche and play for as much as you want to, you know? It's very easy to just be it's very easy to be extremely secluded.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
But don't get me wrong, like there are certain countries like or hate, you know, anime. Japan's doing like very, very well when it comes to making consistently producing consistently very good comics.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I'm not a big anime guy, but objectively speaking, they make some great stuff. Not all of it necessarily appeals to me, but it's
no, but not in the same way that not all like, you know, things on television appeal to me, right? But it's consistently Japan's like in the past 30 years or so has been able to consistently produce forms of media that is able to leave Japan and be extremely successful.
Here in the US,
things like Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Attack on Titan did so well, like Dragon Ball Z did so well overseas compared to even in their own domestic markets. Again, like or hate these things, they're making culture and they're becoming more prominent or more dominant on a cultural stage, artistically speaking. And it's just a bummer because America used to be that niche and it's fallen so woefully by the wayside.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can agree with that.
It's kind of interesting, especially when you view it through the lens of McLuhan's philosophy of media evolution. In particular, because you see how, because of the ubiquity of information, that now once again the physical things are starting to come to the fore with more importance. For example, you saw part of this was due to just the boomers having a bunch of nostalgia, but there is a thriving market in like music niches to have records and even cassette tapes of your favorite niche artist in order to support him or her in their musical endeavors and whatnot. Have that extra level of noise and imperfection that makes it unique, as opposed to the infinitely reproducible MP3 or FLAC file.
I agree, but I will push back a little bit. Or sorry, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I personally believe why the Western world can't produce any good new art, and especially none that is actually creative and original, is because, I mean, Oswald Spengler knows this about art, that fundamentally we, like, the Renaissance was, even though, yes, it was a great period in art, that was kind of like the beginning of our decline in terms of art, in terms of artistic abilities.
Renaissance was high point. He said Renaissance was high point.
But that's the high point, and that's always the beginning of the decline because that's the peak, and then you always go down from there. And today, now we're at the end. We're in the end of the cycle.
No, the decline began. He and I disagree when the decline began. He said it began at the very end of the Enlightenment, following the revolutions around the early 19th century. Whereas I would actually put the start of the decline, the two major events being World War I and the Russian Revolution.
Yeah, I would agree with him on the Enlightenment because no good and new ideas have come.
He liked some ideas of the early Enlightenment, but he said Spengler's problem with the Enlightenment wasn't the Enlightenment itself. It was that these Enlightenment ideas, which were fundamentally like nice in theory, fundamentally like evolved in such a way that they became degenerate. That was more or less the logical end result. Like he was like,
and
okay,
they failed to
idea
understand human nature.
Yeah. That was his argument.
And I think like the Japanese, like they still understand human nature, and that's why they can actually produce like decent art.
But I'm going to push back a little bit
that appeals to people
on that point, just because when I'm saying cultural decay, I mean specifically like mainstream productions, like out of Hollywood. I
Okay,
think
you
there
need to
is
understand that pop culture, like Hollywood, as great as films are, Hollywood and the pop culture of the 20th century is fundamentally.
yes, I agree. That's decay.
It is fundamentally it is fundamentally like the start of decay.
That's
When high
great,
culture.
but let me get my point across is that
Okay.
I don't think Western art is dying. I think that it's trying to be produced, but I think that these entrenched institutions like Hollywood are trying to top down control things to a point that it's stifling the production of new things, which is what we saw specifically with Eric July. And I think that's what's holding us back quite a lot, is that we're not allowing new things and new people to come into these cultural spaces to rejuvenate them. And that's why we're going to fundamentally decay as a culture.
One of the
hold on a second. Net Seven, I have a question for you. I know you said in private chat, MAGA Republican versus liberal conservative. What are you referring to there? Oh, the election.
Yeah, the Alaska Senate election with Kelly Tshibaka versus Lisa Murkowski.
Wait, so it was two Republicans versus each other?
That's correct. Because remember, Alaska has like this ranked voter
voting
thing, so
That's
it's different. Yeah. So it's different from like obviously like AZ where I'm from, which is like you got your Democrat, you've got your Republican, the Libertarian if they make it on the ballot or whatever. But like over with Alaska, you have what's called rank. So this rank voting system where whoever the people who get the most votes end up on the final ballot. And though it could be literally two Republicans, it could be two Democrats, it could be an independent versus a Democrat, it could be a Libertarian versus a Republican. It's a little different up there, up north.
Yeah.
But that's an election going on right now where that's not still decided yet because we got about a little over 70% of the vote counted, and you have Kelly Tshibaka ahead, but not by much, and Lisa Murkowski's starting to close the distance. But it's an interesting vote to see because you have right there essentially a full blown MAGA Republican in Tshibaka versus one of the most well known liberal conservatives, because remember, Lisa Murkowski actually did not vote in favor of Brett Kavanaugh going to the Supreme Court, which is different from another liberal conservative.
The same thing, right?
Yeah, well, because Susan Collins is a liberal conservative, and she voted in favor of Kavanaugh, and that's different from Lisa Murkowski, who did not. So Lisa Murkowski is probably one of the most well-known liberal conservatives, and she's going up against a really well-known, at least in Alaska politics, MAGA Republican type. And so this is it's an interesting example of fight of liberal conservatism against like the full-blown Trumpian conservatism.
Yeah, I know what you mean there about that. But,
of course, I'm not a liberal. I wouldn't. I don't consider myself either one of those. I'm a neoconservative. I just think it's interesting to kind of see these two fight it out and see which one's going to come out on top.
Yeah, I would have liked to have originally someone who was scheduled to come on tonight, but he had work that scheduled him late. I don't know if you guys know Stephen Michael David. God, why is his name escaping me? Well, that's his name, Stephen Michael Davis.
Well, it is now
No
for
idea.
this conversation.
Well, you guys don't know. He was a friend of Kevin Castley back in the day, but he's more like libertarian-ish.
Which one's Kevin Castley?
Kevin Castley is a jerk.
Okay.
Kevin Castley's insane. I mean, I don't hate the guy, but he's let's just say he can be useful for like. I mean, he is. I'm not going to say anything mean about him, but I'm not going to say anything particularly.
Say something nice about him then.
He has a good beard.
You want to suck his That's
He
nice.
has an-
But
he has-
your boo that was
Let-
going to
let-
come
let me-
on, what about him?
No, I was just saying I would have liked to hear his take on this.
Yeah.
He has a YouTube channel actually. I think like a typical libertarian because he's like super pro democracy and he also shills the military industrial complex.
Ew.
Well, like here's the thing. So I am. I'll say a positive thing about Kevin, and I'll say a negative thing about Kevin. So, a positive thing about Kevin Cassidy is that he essentially helped reignite the online neoconservative movement because before Kevin, there wasn't really anyone online who was talking, these strong foreign policy neoconservative stuff. Now he was a neoconservative, but now he's like a liberal interventionist, is like gross, But like he essentially got it going. I started listening to him back in 2020 because I was sort of like in the wilderness politically because after I'd been a libertarian and an isolationist, but when I went to Auschwitz-Birkenau and the Terezin concentration camps in 2016, I completely flipped on my isolationism. I no longer was that, but I didn't know what I was. I tried to be like a libertarian, like interventionist, but the more I talk with other libertarians about it, they were all like, "Oh no, it's all military industrial complex. Oh no, intervention bad." Well, you don't know what you're talking about. And the more and more I started to try and talk about it, it's just like the more I felt disillusioned with libertarianism. And when I found him and I found his content, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this guy's saying the things that I've been thinking about." And so he helped build the new neoconservative online presence, which was literally non-existent before he came in. So now today you actually see people online talk about neoconservatism and not like in a shameful way, but say like, yeah, I'm a neoconservative, what of it, and that's so yeah, he's responsible for that and I appreciate that. But he's also partly responsible for helping turn the movement, dividing the movement and for causing problems. And he's attacked me personally, and I've never come after him. Like he literally sent some of my tweets over to this Twitter person called Political L's to attack me, and the person gave him credit, for like saying, "Oh, look at this like take from Net7, stupid," But like then, like literally, like 5 days later, and like literally that person then went and attacked Kevin. So it's like I found it ironic that like Kevin came after me, and yet I have never come after him. Like I've like, and yet he literally attacked me and tried to embarrass me, and then the person that he did that with then turned on him. So I think the problem with Kevin is that he's very much no, it's got to be my way. You have to agree with me 100% of the time, or you're against me, or you're not, you're an opponent. And the problem is that with me, I don't work that way. I disagree with people, and I don't, and not and stuff like that. But I don't like attack you if you don't agree with me 100% of the time. Problem with Kevin is that he does that. If you do not toe the line with him 100% of the time, and you're in his group, he will come after you, and he'll like ostracize you. And that's why he was building a really strong neoconservative movement, and then he nearly shattered it when when we had a big fight going on, and now it's kind of split. He's created a sort of liberal interventionist group, which is like not growing, and it's like pathetic.
He's
And
he's basically a neoliberal without calling himself one of those, and he's like,
yeah. And now there's like a neoconservative movement, which is like not organized, which is like just a bunch of people kind of doing their own thing
he
independently.
was a solid leader. He was a solid like face of your movement.
Yeah, he was. And then like the controversy with Natalie and stuff like that. And there are some people that I got to blame on that too, like a Buckleyite and stuff like that. He's part of the problem too.
Kevin is grifting. No, Kevin, I think he is legitimately grifting to the anti-theists.
Well, he sees himself sort of like as a Christopher Hitchens, and I think.
I mean, I liked Hitchens, and I still respect Hitchens, but I just mean, but Kevin is not the next Christopher Hitchens.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this is the problem with Kevin's beliefs on politics and foreign policies. That yes, Christopher Hitchens had a really base take on the Iraq War. He was for getting rid of Saddam Hussein. He was for ending his tyrannical rule. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. But and it was for the Bosnian intervention. You know, he wanted to stop the genocide going on there. Yeah, but if you look, but Christopher Hitchens was a Trotskyist. He was a socialist. He was like socially conservative, but he was totally left wing in his economics and stuff like that. And so that's kind of defeats the purpose of what Kevin's talked about, because this guy was because Christopher Hitchens was not a fan of the IRA. He didn't support the terrorism, but he said, well, Britain should leave. And then he was also supportive of the Kurdish, separatist movements, which have been historically Marxist, Leninist, or communist. And and not just in Iraq, but also in Turkey, and in Turkey they have a serious terrorist group there, the PKK. And the more Kevin's tried to align himself with like left wing people, like left wing progressives, for example, Peter Vosch, who was opposed
trying to align
the
himself
Iraq
with
intervention. He's seriously done that. Yeah. I mean, I had a debate on this with him, because he was trying to send out like feelers to him, like trying to essentially, like get him on board with the liberal intervention.
Never accept him.
Yeah, they don't. But that's the thing though. He keeps trying to get into that, and he has defended him, including his controversial and disgusting pedo apologist comments. And it's like he thinks that he can get some of those people into his movement, but those people hate him. I've seen the Reddits. They attack him endlessly. They think he's a joke, and they do. And the thing is that's part of the problem with Kevin is he's reaching out to people who genuinely hate him, and the person he's trying to reach out to was opposed to the Iraq intervention. He was also opposed to the Afghan intervention, and the only thing that he's supportive of is Ukraine, and that's it. Everything else, he's like totally anti-American. He's totally anti-West. He's totally anti-capitalist, and yet but the one thing that Kevin likes, that Kevin thinks for somehow he can hawkpill him, is that he's pro-Ukraine. That's nothing. That makes no sense. And the problem is that Kevin is essentially committing his movement to a slow death and suicide.
Anyway, we're going to get back on topic. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
For the last 5 minutes?
What? No, George just came on. I want to hear George's take. We'll probably end up going to 2:30.
2:30?
As in 2 hours, 30 minutes. Either way, George, thoughts on the election?
Oh yeah, I live in the Fourth Reich. That's what I like to call Pennsylvania, or I guess it's not appropriate anymore given the election results. More like gay Sylvania. But no, yeah, Fetterman was pretty awful. I remember reading.
Dr. Oz was pretty bad too.
Yeah, I mean Pennsylvania didn't have any good choices.
Oh, that one black lady that was running against him in the primaries was awesome, dude.
Literally never heard of her.
I know, but she was awesome. Like I saw some interviews with her. You guys could have had her. And
you said black lady, and that's already. I don't know. I'm suspending my disbelief too hard. Anyway,
she was totally she was going at the Federal Reserve. She was going at BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. She was talking about
those are literal. It was great. Burgers. Okay, I'm not gonna like get into like how the Federal Reserve is like a nothing burger and like BlackRock, Vanguard, et cetera, like.
Enjoy your fake meat.
I mean, it's like things that like people who think they know what's going on. I don't know, it's like the Occupy Wall Street meme.
I'm sure it just is.
Remember when Christopher Cantwell and Stefan Molyneux were like super pro Occupy?
Remember when Christopher Cantwell sucked meth up his ass and then cried because his girlfriend killed his kid?
Wait, did this actually happen?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
because
No wonder
Kiwi
he became
Farms,
no wonder he became an extremist.
because Kiwi Farms is like destroyed now, or well, you can access it still. It just takes a little work. I can't like share with you guys like this like meth induced insanity that like, Christopher Cantwell had once upon a time. But anyway, actually, Fetterman's kind of related to Christopher Cantwell because he kind of grew up like a regular chud lifestyle. You know, he was athletic. He was in sports. I think he even like played in college football. But and he went into like finance and came from a well-to-do family. And I mean well-to-do, I mean like upper middle income at the least. And his friend died in a car accident, which it's tragic. And after tragedy or some type of traumatic event like that, some people find religion. I think he found, instead of finding like an actual religion, he founded a progressivism, and he became like a shit lib. So I forget
He became an ANCAP then after that, and I think he still is kind of an ANCAP.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about like? Okay, I'm talking about Fetterman, not Cantwell.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cantwell this whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, rewind. That was all Fetterman, by the way.
It was clear it was Fetterman. I don't know what JR is on
Okay,
about.
I was confused for a second. I was like, this is Cantwell's story? I was like, this Cantwell's a lot more boring than this.
So, Fetterman, his friend dies, which is tragic, admittedly. He finds religion, which is progressivism, unfortunately for everyone. And I forget if he becomes... No, he goes to Harvard and gets a master's in public administration.
He went to Harvard?
Yeah, or okay, he went to Harvard. Okay, for his undergraduate, he went to like some state school. I forget the name of it.
For his master's, he went to Harvard.
Yes, for his master's in public administration, which is kind of like, you know how CIA and people think spook? Master's in public administration, that's like shit lib, like managerial. What's that word that people like to say? Managerial PMC. That's MPA. If you get an MPA, they're fucking like PMC all the way, man. So he goes to Harvard, and okay, look, contrast his Harvard background with like how he dresses and how he likes to present himself like he's one of us, when it's clearly not the case. Like, you examine his policies, clearly like anti like common people. And his background is like completely aristocratic, or what passes as aristocratic in the United States today. So, and then he becomes a mayor of like this dilapidated West Pennsylvania town, and he sets up like a gardening program or something like that, where like kids work on the park, and people say that the people credit this for like reducing the crime rate. Surely, on an unrelated note, he let the police do whatever they want. So I'm sure that has nothing to do with the crime rate going down. Now that's all very nice, I suppose, but he failed to keep the town hospital up and running. So he loses the hospital, which is bad. And
every town needs at least 2 hospitals. Unless it's super small. But
yeah, this was like less than 10K. I grew up in Tennessee in a town with like around 10K people, and we had at least, I think we had one hospital, one like big dick hospital. This place was less than 10K, and they had a big dick hospital. Them losing this, and like the nearest hospital was like an hour away, which is like not a good situation you want to be in.
Not at all.
Yeah. So he lost a hospital, and then this black guy who like ran a gas station, or runs multiple gas stations, I should say, ran against him. Fetterman abuses his power and brings up private records of his criminal past to sink his candidacy. And this will not be the first issue he has with the African American community. Once upon a time, as mayor, he heard a commotion outside of his. He didn't live in a house. He lived in an abandoned car dealership, which is very interesting.
Fetterman?
Yeah. when he was mayor of this town, he lived in like an abandoned car dealership.
Did he buy it?
Yeah. I mean, I imagine like rental price. Okay, he came from like a rich family, and rent was probably really cheap here, so it wasn't too crazy.
That's actually kind of cool. That is actually kind of like, imagine like getting buying or renting an old car dealership and then turning it into a home. That's actually kind of cool.
Well, I mean, it's as cool as like moving to Portland and then like turning a garbage bin into like I don't know a house.
To
I
be
guess
fair,
it's cool in that way.
there is a right next to my apartment complex. There's an office building, and it's like a nice office building too. It's not like a glass ceiling. It's like one of those like row office buildings, but the entire thing was it's next to an escape room, which is like a separate building. But again, it is tasteful architecture. They turned it into an Orthodox church.
So what's actually very tasteful is so Fetterman. Going back to the story about John Fetterman, he hears a commotion outside of his domicile. He runs out with a shotgun, and he detains a black jogger. They're at it again, folks. Another black jogger. And John Fetterman points a shotgun at him and detains him. And thankfully, he didn't turn into armed robbery. So, however, their paths would cross again later in life. This individual that John Fetterman detained and pulled a gun on would get locked up for, I think, theft of some kind. And when the press interviewed him about the incident where he was detained by John Fetterman and he pulled a shotgun on him, he basically said it was no big deal. Now, when he said this, John Fetterman was part of the parole board of Pennsylvania. And so, read between the lines, this guy is like saying, "Oh, it's no big deal. I'm not going to say anything bad about this guy who's literally dictating whether or not I get out of jail." And his wife. Actually, I won't talk about his wife because I don't know. It might be a bit tasteless to bring his woman into this, but yeah, pretty dubious character overall. And the fact that he's had like 2 strokes and he's likely mentally dilapidated, we could wind up with a FDR scenario where, like, his Eleanor will be senator of the United States, or will be a U.S. senator effectively. I think that's very possible.
So in reality, so what you're saying is Eleanor Roosevelt was the first female president?
For a time. I forget when exactly FDR began losing his health to the degree where he could only function for like a couple hours a day.
I mean, she testified before a congressional committee and was also the first, not only the very first lady, but also just like the first woman in general to address a party convention.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo.
Beppis, how do you feel about women in politics?
I thought Thomas Jefferson was the first female president.
Yeah, he was trans. Guys didn't know that?
Yeah, here, I'll send you the image.
Net7, did you know Thomas Jefferson was actually
Here,
trans?
I want you to put this one up. It's an oldie but a goodie.
It doesn't surprise me that he was a woman. He had so much empathy for the French revolutionaries.
Just put that up for me, man. I sent it to you on Discord. Oldie but a goodie.
I don't know. We'll see if it's a pro.
It is. It's
okay.
Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, that's cute. I like that.
I like the Hatsune Miku binder. I met God. She's black.
Okay, I like this. You make this?
Oldie but a goodie. Oldie but a goodie. I miss 2014 so much.
5'11" fit, 26-year-old art and education major, born and raised in Virginia. Not today. What? Furry, taking Japanese lessons. Thinks he can cook but can't. Dated Anglican Schnug. What? Anglican? No, Angelica. I thought it said Anglican. Angelica Schugler before his transition. Her dad had no idea and calls her Angie. One who's something obsessed with anime, of course. Frequents Barnes and Noble.
I'm gonna send you the George Washington, the Alexander Hamilton one too.
John's former drug dealer. John Adams, I'm guessing?
Yes.
I love how he looks black.
He's supposed to be.
But he has blue eyes.
That's the funny part.
Is this like a parody of Hamilton?
No, this isn't a parody. This was made in 100% sincerity.
No, it was a parody.
Yes, it was. I was there when it was written. Don't quote the
No
old
way.
magics to me.
That's got to be parody.
It wasn't. This is old. It's from 2014.
Yes. No, this seems more recent than 2014.
No, I remember when this came out. This is a Tumblr original. I was there. Don't quote the old magics to me.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Sorry. Anyway, so final thoughts on the election. I guess we'll kind of just move into that. Midterms. Do you have hope? Are you pissed? Do you even give a shit?
Me?
Starting with I guess starting with who's the next Net 7. Net 7, starting with you.
Is he even here?
Shit.
I don't know. People need to be more respectful and just say when they're leaving or when they're I don't know.
Let's
J
pretend to be
Maximus.
him.
J Maximus, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, basically, my conclusion is Republicans need to tighten up their game, and particularly the ground game, get better on candidate selection. Seriously, Oz, just and
It's so funny, though.
and at the cultural level, we definitely have a lot more work on our hands because there are several plebiscites that just outright failed that should have been slam dunks, like in Kentucky and Montana, just straight up.
Yeah, I agreed on that front. And I don't even like the Republicans, but I agree. Is Net 7 here? Yes, no.
No, just keep going.
No.
Okay.
I'm here. It's just like
yeah.
I
See if you can
I
give
might
your
have
final
some internet
thoughts.
issues though.
Yeah, no, you're good. See if you can give some final thoughts at least.
Well, we've certainly talked about a whole lot. I mean, Katie Hobbs and Carrie Lake, that election's still very close. There hasn't been an update for like 2 hours, but it's definitely trending in the Carrie Lake direction.
Is it?
Looks like Mark Kelly is still safe, although Blake Masters is catching up, so it's still going to be very close. It might still lean Mark Kelly. Republicans have won. So whether or not Republicans have won or lost, or whether Democrats have won or lost, there's still a few elections still up for grabs. So there's still plenty to win for both sides. But this election has been so weird in that Republicans have won and lost, and Democrats have won and lost. Like everyone thought that, that they in seats that the Republicans thought were safe, they lost. In seats that the Democrats thought were safe, like over in New York, they lost. In areas in which the Democrats put a whole bunch of emphasis on, like in Nebraska second, and also with the Georgia governor, they lost. Or then with the Senate in Georgia, now they're still in a runoff. And then seats that the Republicans thought that were completely safe, like Boebert's, they lost. And then in Wisconsin, the Democrats took both the state house and the Senate, and the Republicans thought that they would still maintain enough of a majority there, or at least a slight majority, and they lost. So this election has been weird in the sense that a lot of expectations were shattered, and a lot of surprises, and a lot of sleepers and surprises. The interesting thing is that it's not over yet. There's still a few more surprises potentially in Arizona and in Alaska. Where in Alaska you see a MAGA Republican versus a liberal conservative going at it, and with an election that's pretty tight right there. And in AZ, where you have Carrie Lake and Katie Hobbs, literally almost neck and neck right now. So this election has been really crazy and really also really unique. It has blown people's expectations in numerous ways. And I'm looking forward to seeing what 2024 is going to bring.
Okay. Thank you so much. George.
Yeah, thanks for sending me up next. I don't have much to say. Well, actually, I wasn't here much, so this might take a while.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hopefully not as long as Net 7. Not to like rag on Net because he has a lot to say, a lot going on in his mind. I was here like listening for parts of it. I think there were a lot of good points brought up. But someone said that this was like an even outcome. I'm just gonna like voice my disagreement with that. This was like, I think Hanania said it best that like this was like a historically bad outcome for Republicans, given
Absolutely.
like how, given how these things usually go for incumbent presidents. They usually lose bigly in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
But so far it looks like the Republicans are set to just barely get the House. So I might have to like take that back for the next like week or so, depending on like when the votes come in. I'm surprised Masters won because a lot of like local intelligence told me that.
Wait, did Masters win?
I thought he was win. I thought he was going to win.
What was he? I thought it was. Hold on.
I guess I'll just say that I'm surprised Masters is like lasting this long, as opposed to Oz, who, well, I don't know. Pennsylvania was a shit show. I don't want to. Despite me, like,
Blake Masters is losing.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not. I would take that back. I'm not surprised Blake Masters was losing. Local sources said that.
I'm surprised Oz lost.
Pennsylvania was just a shit show, man. I mean,
Pennsylvania was stupid. It was just a stupid election.
Yeah,
it was the most interesting to me personally.
I mean,
followed by Georgia, but
I mean, Wolf and Shapiro are at least they're at least presentable Democrats. I just don't like Oz because of like how much I like read up on them. I like read the Wikipedia article for like Wolf and Shapiro. I don't think there's, aside from like usual libtard shenanigans, I don't think there's anything too detestable.
You're like a Democrat, right? Registered?
No.
Or are you an independent?
Independent, but no.
Are you a Republican?
So anyway, I think I don't know. Republicans are in a really tough spot. They have the House. The Republicans are going to be in a tough spot because if they win the House, I guess they can like cock block the Biden administration. But then the Biden administration is going to blame them for like stuff going badly, like the upcoming like recession that's going to get worse. Gas prices going up with the SPR stops getting drained. There's already a diesel shortage. I'm sure the Biden administration is going to like blame the Republicans for it for not voting for trans rights or whatever in the House, which that will totally bring down gas prices. However, Hanania's thesis that this loss was due to abortion, I'm not too sure about that because there were places where abortion referenda were passed where, abortion was enshrined, or bans on abortion were not enshrined in state constitutions, but Republicans still won House seats there. So not too sure if this is like a Republican loss because of abortion necessarily. And of course, there's also the notion that this is wholly fortified and bogus, which I don't know. How many elections can one fortify? I think this is a legit loss for the Republicans just because, like, they had bad candidates in some places like Masters and Mastriano and Oz in places. But where they had like good candidates like DeWine, Abbott, and DeSanctimonious,
Yeah, I
they,
love that new
they
nickname.
cleaned up. So yeah, and hopefully, I don't know. Is this will it be a good thing if the Republicans get rid of Trump but not Trumpism? You know, they get like DeSantis in there who, you know, isn't as charismatic as Trump, if you want to call Trump charismatic, but he'll actually like fulfill Trumpist policy. I would prefer that, but we'll see.
Thank you, George. Next, we have Jay Maximus for the final take.
No, you already.
Oh, did
Yeah.
we?
No.
Yeah, no, you're
No,
forgetting
go
the
ahead.
order. Net 7 leaving messed up the order. It would be me
Okay.
next.
No, you're
But-
the last one then.
Well, now I'm the last one.
Yeah. Wait, no, did Beppis?
But-
Beppis, did you go?
No.
Okay, Beppis, final thoughts on the election. My co-host will go last.
Republicans will never win if they keep ignoring culture.
Yeah.
If they want to do as well as Democrats do, they need to start making gains culturally. And one of the ways that happens is actually getting your message out there in a way that's digestible to people and in a way that it's fun for people. So they really need to start playing that culture game, because feelings do not care about your facts. And
That's
people
fair.
will always vote with their feelings.
Mm-hmm. And finally, last and certainly least, my co-host, Darth Kilhoun.
Well, since I'm a reactionary, I don't really care about any elections. I just see it as a dysgenic effect. I mean, like, people are going to complain, people are going to moan about this election, but I'm just like, you know, this is honestly what you deserve if you have a democratic system. It's just pathetic outcomes if you're, depending on which side you're on. I mean, both sides is pathetic, no matter if you're a quote unquote liberal or quote unquote conservative, even though those terms have no meaning in the United States. So yeah, my opinion is just I don't really give a shit because America's crumbling.
Fair enough. So yeah, everybody. That's it. Thank you for tuning in, those who did, and thank you for watching, those who are watching after the fact. Be sure to like and subscribe. Again, thank you everyone for coming on, everybody who is still here and everybody who is no longer here. And hopefully I'll see you next week. Night, everybody.
Night.